Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host. I have a very special guest here today in my kitchen, Mr. Chino Moreno. Is that it right?
Hey, yes, you did.
And you're part Chinese and Mexican, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's a sick mix. Respect that. I love that. I was just talking to you before we get into the shit that I started drinking coffee. You thought it was kind of weird that I started coffee at almost 50, which it is. But I'm not enjoying the taste. I'm enjoying the energy it brings me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's what I was concerned about. I was like, does he like the way it tastes? It must be like, I guess.
It tastes like shit, right? Kind of.
Well, I can imagine when I first tasted coffee, I didn't like it as a kid. I was like, what are they drinking? I remember, to me, it reminded me of the smell of my teacher's breath, my third grade teacher's breath. And I was like, this must be disgusting because it smells bad.
It does. It does.
But now when I open up a fresh, little thing of ground, or beans, the smell of it is joyous.
And every day is it 1 cup for you?
I do 2.
Okay.
Yep.
1 in the morning or 2 in the morning?
No, 2 in the morning, back to back.
I fucked up and had it in the afternoon the other day, and it kept me up all night, man. It's just my body's not made for it because I have nothing. I'm like, it's the only drug I've pretty much done is coffee. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I think there should be the cutoff point. I think afternoon, 3 o'clock maybe.
Because I get super high, then I take a shit, and then I fucking get
it definitely gets you in that where you get you in that.
Well, that's why people do in the morning, right? It's a good flow.
Yes.
All right, well, fuck, man. We're going to get into this podcast. So a lot to talk about with my man right here. I really appreciate you coming today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
It was cool because I ran into you a couple months ago at the Cure Deftones show, and I hadn't seen you in a while. And I've met you throughout my life, the Warped Tour, all that shit with mutual friends. Serge, you're this mutual scene of friends. And then you told me you liked the podcast. I was really, really, really stoked that you liked it.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's actually been listening to it, but obviously you have. And
yeah. I was kind of mad at you the other day for leaving us hanging for a week. I was like, what's going on? You texted me and I was like, yo, man, what's going on?
I know. I said to drop the Hoya one. So thank you for being here. For the listeners who don't know much about you, obviously I like to talk some history before we get into what's happening now. But you were born and raised in Sacramento, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And how was that growing up there in Sacramento?
It was cool. Obviously I didn't know anything else. I grew up in pretty much stayed in the radius, like a small radius, my neighborhood where I grew up, South Sacramento. A place called Oak Park. It was generally black and Mexican, lower class neighborhood, but super fun growing up. I mean, I enjoyed it. Didn't have let's see, I had some friends. Stefan, my guitar player, he grew up not too far from me, so maybe like 10 blocks from me. So so he was like one of my earliest friends, whatever, and he was one of the other kids that was like skateboarding, because at that point, early on, I kind of went from that transition from breakdancing, which was popping in the neighborhood big time. So I had a lot of friends and music, a lot of like the early hip hop stuff was like big in the neighborhood. So like breakdancing culture was like pretty big. And then from there I was introduced to skateboarding, and then like my whole life was just revolved around that. So like and this is probably, I don't know, say when I was 11 years old. And I met Stefan. He lived up the street from me, but he was one of the other kids in the neighborhood who skateboarded. So then through him, I met a bunch of other skateboarders that kind of lived like, speckled around the neighborhood. Yeah. And we all sort of just like would converge at his house, and just skate in front of his house. And
awesome.
Yeah. He had at that time his mom let pretty much everybody like take over the garage, and it would be like everybody would kind of bring whatever random gear they had and just like put it in there and just like figure out how to play it. And that's kind of how we started doing music from there.
Wow. So, all right. So how old were you then?
I was probably about 13, 14 years
13,
old.
So you're breakdancing then. So could you do
before that breakdance was before that. Yeah.
So you're a hip hop kid first.
Yeah, totally.
Could you do windmills and stuff?
I can never do windmills, man. That was like one thing that I was more into, like pop locking, and then and I would do some breakdance and stuff. We had a little crew and stuff at school and stuff like that, but that was like 5th and 6th grade. And I was like, hardcore into it, where like, I'd wear like one knee pad to school and like, like whatever, just so we could just like get down and,
at school too
during recess and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how were you? Did you like school?
I did. Well, then I did. Junior high school, elementary school throughout junior high school a little bit. But then in high school, I started to I like the social part of it. You know what
Totally,
I mean?
me too.
So I would just go to school just to hang out, basically.
Yeah, bad grades.
It got bad. And then my grades started slipping pretty bad. And,
Me too, man.
Yeah.
A lot of distractions.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, I wasn't even girls then yet. It was still like skateboarding and just hanging out and music and like just like lunchtime and then just like going to school to meet friends and then leaving school. Like we'd hang out at the coffee shop or the donut shop and skate behind it, and that was it.
Were your parents strict about grades and stuff?
They were, but what's crazy is that my parents got divorced. They were going through a divorce like the end of when I was just about to turn 16.
Okay.
So because they were kind of like dealing with their own like adult stuff, whatever, like I kind of was slipping through the it was like easy for me to like get away with
shit,
get away with whatever, because they weren't paying attention, because they were, dealing with their own stuff, which, now I can totally see how that, could happen.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So,
wow.
Because of that, like, that's when I started to like, I wasn't bad. Like I never really got in trouble. I've never gotten arrested in my life.
Me
never,
either.
Yeah. Straight up. Never, I've always been pretty good for the most part. I mean, I've, gotten away with a couple things here and there, but like more or less, I just like would, if you gave me a little bit, I would just like, I would take it, but like or you give me a little line, I would take it, but never too far. Like I never wanted to be in trouble. Like I was always, I don't know if it's being afraid of being in trouble or whatever, but like, or disappointing my parents or whatever. Yeah. Like I was bad to an extent, but not really. Like I was actually like a good kid because of that.
Yeah. Did you graduate?
I did not.
Oh,
so what happened was I made it to my senior year, and then I got kicked out. Basically, my attendance was horrible because my attendance was really bad. I had a decent amount of credits. I could have probably graduated on time.
Yeah.
But my attendance was really bad, and they kept trying to make me go to like Saturday school and all this other stuff, whatever. And then I just wouldn't go, and like there'd be nobody to enforce me, whatever. So I was like,
yeah.
So then they sent me to continuation school. Okay. So I went to continuation school, and it was kind of a trip because like everybody in there was pretty much like on the last kind of thing of school. You know what I mean? To me, I felt like I could have turned myself around if they would just gave me a chance, but they sent me there, and then I felt like completely like a lot of the girls there, like a lot of them were like pregnant and stuff like that. The guys, like they had kids, you know what I mean? These are like high schoolers. Some of the kids were just like it was basically that last line of kids that like haven't completely given up. Like they still like figure they're just going to finish school, whatever. Yeah. But I just felt really out of place there. And I went there and I worked up some credits and I got whatever. But that was exactly that time too, when my parents were like not really paying attention to me. And also like, I would just like, my mom would wake me up in the morning and say, get up, go to school. And she'd go to work. My dad wasn't there. So she'd wake me up, go to school. I'd say, okay, Mom, I'd get up, I'd go to the bathroom, and then she'd be gone. I'd go right back to bed and sleep for another couple of hours.
It's like in the movies and shit.
Yeah. And then I'd get on my skateboard and I'd skate up to school or my old school and meet some of my old friends. And then we just hang out during lunch and whatever. So it was like, wow. I would like go to be there, but I wouldn't, it was like whatever. And the band actually was going on then too. Okay. So which is kind of crazy. So I started, at that point, like right around that same time, I moved out and I moved in with Chi, our bass player. Yes. And he lived in these apartments by the college. He was in college, a couple years older than me, so he was in college at the time. And as long as he was going to school, his dad was paying half the rent at this 1-bedroom apartment. So at that time, he was living there with his girlfriend. Him and his girlfriend broke up. I was staying the night there all the time, like after practice and everything. And finally, him and his girlfriend broke up. So like I moved right in, and we shared a bedroom, like a 1-bedroom, like little spot by the college. And I got a job at the dining commons for the kids that lived in the dorms. Okay. And was
that your first job?
Yeah. Well, was it my first job? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had like paper route and stuff like that. What else did I do? No, I don't think it was pretty much like one of my first jobs. It's kind of crazy. And
was that your first band? Is this
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So you never sang before, have you?
No, I never did. I mean, I would sing like, we were talking about Morrissey earlier, like whatever. I would listen to like Morrissey records and Cure records and like a lot of new wave stuff.
New wave kid, yeah.
Duran Duran and Depeche Mode was probably my favorite band. Still one of my favorite bands. And that was cool because that transition for me was like I was way into like electronic, like African Bambaataa and like early like breakdancing music.
Yeah, real shit.
But like when I heard Depeche Mode, it was like all those same sort of like electronic, like they were using all the same gear, like all the same keyboards and all that stuff, whatever, and the drum machines and stuff. So it was like kind of hip hop music, like had that vibe to it, but like there was melody and like there's like these romantic, macabre lyrics and like things that just like, poetic things that as a young kid I was just like drawn to. You know? And then so it was like a marriage of those two things. So like that was one of my favorite bands for forever, and it still probably is.
What's crazy is that you get into skateboarding at that time, and because for me, when I get into skateboarding, it was connected to punk rock, and that was like the soundtrack. But when you get into it, you really weren't listening to punk rock. You're into skateboarding. No,
not really. I mean,
soundtrack.
What's crazy is that like not until high school. I mean, I did listen to some stuff. Like I liked the Circle Jerks, and I liked Bad Brains, and I liked. I didn't know too much though. I knew some Staples, Dead Kennedys. I knew like some staple kind of stuff, whatever. Mostly like West Coast stuff, whatever. And and that was just from having some mutual skateboarding friends who turned me on to that kind of stuff. But I was still like stuck in my new wave thing. It was like my main thing. So I would turn them on to that. Yeah. And a lot of times, like even our drummer Abe was so funny. I'd play him like Depeche Mode back then. He was like, "Oh, they didn't even have a drummer. Like how you listen to this stuff, whatever." Now he loves them, but it was like when you're kids, like a lot of kids, like they make up their decision, like what they like, and then they just like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was like that too. I appreciate a lot of that music now, later on in life for sure. Yeah. What was your favorite skateboard trick? And were you good?
Handrails. I was. Wow. I was like one of the. Well, I just olling in general. I had a really good ollie. I like Mark Gonzalez was my favorite skater.
Sick.
Loved Nodis, whatever. Those two dudes, like street style dudes. So like just olling and like doing big ollies and ollieing off transitions and then doing steps. And then I remember opening up a Thrasher one day and I saw, who was it? It might have been the Gons, but it might have been, I don't think so. Who was it? Somebody I remember opening up and seeing like someone doing a handrail, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do that.
Damn.
And I trial by error. I just kept like I found like this smaller handrail. I think it was only like 3 steps, and it was sort of a little lower.
Yeah.
So I just went and I would practice on it every day until I learned it, and then like I was stoked because I felt like I was one of the first kids in Sacramento like doing handrails. And then like a couple months later, there's people like grinding down handrails, and I was just like, well, I'm not about that. Like that's just like danger right there. But board sliding them, that was like that. So then I would go around town and just find any handrail and get kicked out of spots all the time. And it's cool. I actually got like the other day I found a batch of pictures. Just like we used to take our cameras out, we didn't have phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we were just like, and then develop them. So I got like some really cool pictures of me, like, probably like 15 years old, like busting handrails and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
I'd show them to my daughter because she doesn't believe that I can still really skate,
Do you still skate now?
I do. And I collect skateboards. So I have like a whole garage just like full of, whatever. And
that's cool.
So I'm like more like, I'm into like, just like, I don't like do any tricks anymore like that. Yeah. I go from A to B and ride. And when I pulled up to your pad, I was like, yeah, this neighborhood's rad.
You said to me,
for just like getting on your skateboard and riding to the store, to the market and like, whatever. Like that's the life that I like about, skateboarding.
Yeah. I love in those magazines. It was like, there was a sequence shot. So you learned how to do a trick by looking at the magazine.
Pictures, yeah.
It wasn't a video. It was just
step by steps.
It's fucking crazy though that like, now everything's so advanced, obviously. So I think I did read something. I was going to ask you like your first exposure to music. The first thing you heard, was it Casey and the Sunshine Band? Is that real?
Yeah. Sick. I mean, but that's like I'm talking like I was probably like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, okay.
So that's like one of my fondest memories of music is like listening to like, do a little dance, make a little love, like like in my parents' car or whatever, and just like,
It's
disco,
awesome.
I guess,
Yeah. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one older sister, and I have a younger sister and 2 younger brothers.
Were they into the same stuff you were into, or no?
My older sister, she's the one that turned me on to Duran Duran.
Okay.
Like when so she was like into she was way into them, and because she was into them, I looked up to her. I still do to this day. So
it's awesome.
But so like whatever she liked, I just like was like, what's this? So I got into Duran Duran. It was pretty funny too, because like they were pretty much like one of the first they were considered a boy band, which is kind of crazy back then.
Yeah.
Like guys really didn't like them. You know what I mean? But
you're like the Coldplay of back then.
Maybe I don't know.
I love Coldplay. I'm the same. People always say, "Oh, it's a girl band, whatever." But.
Yeah, but with Duran Duran, because they were all they all had hairstyles and they were cute guys, whatever. Like all the girls liked them, and guys, it wasn't really a thing. But musically, like even if you look back and now, like musically, they were like a great great band. I mean, like all of them as musicians, Simon as a singer, as a lyricist, everything. So that was like one of my first like bands that I really got into, and I was really like, and it was all because of my big sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that your first live show you went to, a live concert?
You know what? I didn't. I did go to when I was real little, like maybe like 8 years old or something. I went to saw Evelyn Champagne King at the fair with my parents, and that was pretty cool. I mean, still it was like kind of the disco era, kind of still whatever. But you know, kind of like R&B, a little soul, kind of whatever. And that was awesome. I still like her, but the first concert that I actually like went to and like my, you know, like without my parents, got dropped off to and went to myself, wasn't until I was about 15, 16 years old, and that was I saw Depeche Mode on the Violator tour.
Oh shit!
And like worked my way, you know, it was general admission, worked my way all the way to the barricade, and just sat there and just like that was when I like thought to myself, like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to like run around and sing and play music and you know, whatever. Maybe not this kind of music, but whatever. I just like, it was like singing a concert of that magnitude too, because it was like,
that's fucking.
It was a big tour, And at that time, it was like my favorite record. So you're going to see your favorite band play your favorite record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're from like, to me, especially because I hadn't really left. I mean, I didn't leave Sacramento until like literally like go anywhere out of the city until Deftones started touring, like when I was 20. So,
holy shit.
So in my mind, like I just know my neighborhood and I know whatever. And this band is from England. To me, it's so far away, and yet they're coming and playing in Sacramento, in this town. And it was just like, I don't know, it's just otherworldly, you know, seeing that stuff live for the first time.
Yeah. So then the Deftones starts when you're in school.
Yeah. We were in 10th grade. Yeah, we started.
And who named the band?
Stefan.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was only because we were going to play our first show, which was like we were playing a barbecue. One of our friends like playing a barbecue, and they and there was another band like that. There was another big band in town called Fallacy, and they were like 2 years older than us. They went to the same school, and still our friends now. But yeah, so they were playing the party. It was like a keg party, whatever. They were playing it, and we said, "Can we play before you, whatever?" Because their gears are gonna be there, whatever.
Yeah.
So we played it, and then we needed a name, and Stefan said that we were called the Deftones, and I was like, okay, like I didn't even like think about it anything more than that. And then I did kind of ask him like, well, why that? He's like, because Def is like, it's like hip hop, it's like Def, Tones. It sounds like an old school band, and people are gonna think they already know who we are. And I was like, cool. Okay, whatever. I mean, it's like very like the way he was of his thinking. I mean, I was like, whatever. It did make a lot. In retrospect, it did make a lot of sense. Whatever. Yeah. But it was funny because like once we started like really doing shows, everybody thought we were a ska band because there was like.
I was gonna say I heard the name before I even heard you. I was like, is that a ska band?
Yeah. So then like everybody like we were trying to book shows and everything. Like people just thought we were a ska band.
Holy shit! So did it So it was no college for you then? Obviously, it was just straight to music.
Yeah.
And were your parents cool? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty supportive. I mean, the first time that we actually had a real practice where we weren't in Stefan's garage and we like booked out like a little rehearsal spot downtown Sacramento.
Yeah.
I told my dad, I asked my dad, I said, can you give me a ride to practice? And he's like, practice? What practice? I said, band practice. He's like, you're in a band? I was like, well, I'm trying to be. I'm going to try out, like, you know what I mean? Like, because we'd always, like I said, in Stefan's garage, everybody would jam.
Yeah.
And I'd pick up anything. Like, I'd pick up the drums.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a drummer. Like, I just everybody loves playing drums.
You can play, right?
It's just fun. I mean, I can play, keep a beat, I can, whatever, but like, I'm not good.
Yeah.
But I love playing. It's just fun, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're a kid, it's like banging on stuff. It's fun. So that's what I want. I wanted to play drums, and I would go and Stefan would play guitar, and I would just jam with them stuff. One day I brought Abe over, and he played with Stefan, and then Stefan was like, I didn't belong on the drums anymore. Obviously, Abe's he'd been playing drums since he was like 3 years old. Like he grew up, his parents were musicians and stuff. So he was always good. Like when we were, in junior high school together, he was like awesome.
Yeah.
Like I'd go to his house and I would be like, his bedroom was like half the size of this like area right here where I was like tiny, and he had a drum set in his room, and then like his bed was on the floor, like whatever.
Oh shit!
So it's like he just woke up and played drums all the time. And I remember going to his house after school one day, and like I asked him to play like Bullet the Blue Sky by U2, and he was like,
Great song.
Just playing the beat, and I was just like, and it sounded just like it, and I was like, looked at him, I was like, this dude is awesome, and like, and everything, he could just like hear anything and just play anything.
Yeah.
And he's just this real skinny kid. He's like unassuming. You would not think that he'd just be like ripping. And since I've known him, he's been an awesome drummer. So I brought him over to Stefan's house one day, and he just started. Just like those two just started jamming, and they locked in right away. Yeah. So then I was out of a job. I was like, well, I need something to do. And then Stefan was like, hey man, you can sing. He's like, I hear you sing like all the time. Like you're always singing Danzig and Morrissey stuff and whatever. He's like, I know you can sing. He's like, okay, so here's what we're gonna start 2 bands. One's gonna be a punk band. We're gonna be called Green Card. And because most of us were Mexican in the band, it was like whatever. Awesome. He's like, we're gonna be called Green Card. He's like, and then we're having another band. It's gonna be a metal band, and it's gonna be called Animosity or something like that. It was like whatever. And he's like, okay, and we're gonna. Whatever, and he's like, I want you to sing for both bands, and blah blah. And I was like, this is him. Actually called me on the phone like one day after I was hanging out at his house, and I was like, okay. He's like, okay, and we're gonna get a little spot downtown. It's $5 an hour to practice here. So I was like, okay, cool. So then, like I said, my dad gave me a ride there. I told him I was trying out for a band or 2 bands, whatever. and that day we just started writing songs, and
shit.
And those two can play. Like Stefan's always been like really like solid, like he's not like the most expressive player where he's just like all over the fretboard, but he's very solid, and he plays he'll play everything the same every time he plays it. Like he's really like I don't know what's a good word for it, but he's like that's his he's very consistent and creative, but he's very consistent, and Abe is, like I said, always been really good. So they started playing together, and it was like if I can be in this band, like I'll be in a band that's already good in my mind. Yeah. So I thought like I have to figure out how to sing, and it was weird at first. I mean, like I was still kind of singing like what I was listening to, so it was like Morrissey and stuff like that, and I was trying to sing that kind of stuff over like they're kind of like more like metal-y kind of riffs, whatever. Yeah, and it didn't work at first. I mean, eventually, kind of the band kind of now. It's kind of like our forte. It's like there's whatever. But then it was like it just didn't have the right formula yet or whatever. So then I was like,
nothing like that though.
Yeah. So then I was just like, okay, well, I know I can rap and I know I can scream, whatever. So I was like, I'll just do that because I know I can do that. Like anybody can scream. Yeah. And I knew I can rap because I used to like rap a lot too, like in high school and stuff like that. And like we go to like football games and stuff, whatever, like the the high school football games, and go underneath the bleachers, and like dudes would just meet up and then cipher and just people start rapping. And I don't know why I had that confidence back then, but I would like go in there with like with whoever, and I would just start like rapping and freestyling stuff too, whatever. Damn. And I wouldn't say that I was great, but like I just had confidence to do it.
That's cool.
So so then I started kind of rapping, but it wasn't so much rap. It was just like more rhythmic sort of like approach to it, whatever. Yeah. So I mean, and that's kind of like the first kind of things that we sound like when we started to figure out what kind of band we were. That's kind of how it started. Yeah, and you started writing songs. Well, funny enough, Stefan would like the first like 3 or 4 songs. Like when I showed up that day at the thing, he's like, okay, cool. Okay, here's the lyrics. This song is called the Vegetable Song. It was one of the first songs he wrote because Abe's a vegetarian, so he'd always like make fun of whatever. Back then, and like so our first song was called the Vegetable Song, and it was about like eating your vegetable. It was like the most adolescent, like whatever, but he wrote the lyrics to it, whatever. And I was like, I don't know how the melody's supposed to go, but I'm just like, okay, here's some words, and I'll make up some melodies or cadence to fit these words. It was a trip. It was like kind of like a school project in a way, you know what I mean? And they loved it, and it worked. It did, but I mean, if you listen back to it now, you just be like, I hold my head, it's like, God, you know what I mean? But yeah, we were kids, so it was okay. Did you guys make a demo to get signed, or just started playing shows and created a buzz? We did make a demo, but it wasn't that. Actually, you know what? We did. The demo that we got signed on was. This was years later by the time because we didn't do a demo for a long time, but when we did actually do one, this was already probably like 93 or 4. Okay. Probably 93, I think. But we recorded 2 songs, and those 2 songs actually ended up on our first record. One of them was called Engine Number 9, and one of them was called 7 Words. Okay. And we made this cassette tape demo, just 2 songs, and we just gave it out. We didn't sell it.
Yeah.
We just gave it to our friends and whatever, this and that. And then we actually came down to LA. One of the first times we ever we would play sometimes we get lucky and play some shows in San Francisco and stuff like that. We get put on these shows that were 12 band kind of thing, starts at noon and whatever. And a lot of times we get put with a lot of ska bands because they thought we were a ska band, but we would go in there and we'd be completely different. And our energy on stage, our live show was just sick. It was musicianship wise, and me as a singer wise, I probably was not good at all, but I just would go on stage and just go crazy, whatever. And I was just young and just full of just whatever. And I would go in there and so our live shows were starting to get pretty good. Yeah. At least where people were we'd stick out from the other bands we played with. And then
the bills and shit.
Yeah, and then we started taking trips to we made one trip down to LA, and this is how we got signed. We were playing a show. We got offered a last minute thing. It was there was this band playing at what's the name of the place called? It's Pink Taco now, but it was called it's on Sunset. It was called, damn it, I don't know. I can't think of the name of it, but it was
what are you talking about though?
It was upstairs, and there was a band that were showcasing or they just got a record deal. They were called Black Spade something, whatever. They were a kind of a rap rock band or something like that. And someone knew so-and-so, whatever, I don't know, and we got offered to close the show. So this band was playing, and as soon as they played, everybody left. So it was we were there, we played for 3 people, literally, the 2 people that we knew that were friends from LA, and then I guess one of the other guys was there, knew Guy Osiri from Maverick Records at the time. And
what year would this be?
This would be 93 or 94. Okay. Yeah, late 93
You've been together
maybe.
For a while though before that.
Yeah, because we literally started 89 was when we started. But this is garage, in the garage, we weren't really a band. We were just call ourselves a band, but we didn't really, we didn't even have a name basically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so what we did have that 2-song tape, and then whoever got that to Guy Osiri or whatever, and it was crazy. It was at that time, Chi and I worked at Tower Records, but we worked at the warehouse. Tower Records is based out of Sacramento. I don't know if a lot of people know that.
I didn't know
or
that,
it used to be. So the warehouses were there in West Sacramento, and so all the we worked in the magazine department. So all the magazines that went to all the towers all around the world, we boxed those and shipped them to different stores.
I remember those magazines.
Yeah, so that was not just the Pulse magazine, but all every Tower Records had a little magazine rack.
Section. Yeah, okay.
So all the music magazines. Okay. So it was one of the funnest jobs ever, because it was this is pre-internet too. So it was we'd go there and just read magazines, all NMEs and Melody Makers and all these stuff. So finding out about music all over the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we, we got and we were right on the cusp. We knew everything before everybody else knew it. With the periodicals, we would read them before they'd even get sent out to the stores.
Holy shit.
First of the press. So that was fun for us. Fun way to kind of learn more about music too, just outside of your area. So but yeah, we were at work there, and we got a call there, and the guy was like, "Yo, can you guys you guys want to come and do a what do you call it,
showcase?"
A showcase. Yeah, we went to Polk, or was it Polk, or was it what's the name of the little place over here? I forget the name of it. It's where Rage recorded their record too. It's this little rehearsal spot over here. Okay. But basically we went over there, and we set up our gear, and they came and set 2 chairs. It was Guy and Freddie DeMann, who's Madonna's manager.
Yeah, man. I have a Madonna tattoo. I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah. So this will go into a good story for you then.
I want to hear it.
I know I'm talking a lot, but I guess.
No, I love this shit, man.
So they come in, they sit down, and then we just we played. We just start playing a song. We played a song, Root. We just wrote it. It was and it was on our first record too, but we were playing it, and the song was over, and they both were just staring at us. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know if they like it or not, whatever. And then we said, fuck it. We just went right. We didn't give them time to say anything. We went to another song. We started playing a song, and halfway through the song, Freddie stood up, and he goes, stop, whatever. And we were like, oh shit, this whatever. He's like, where do I sign?
Damn.
And I was like, huh? And I was like, he's like, you guys, you don't play another note. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. And we were going to our credit, we were going crazy. We were playing a show in there. You know what I mean? At that time, I probably weighed $140. I had dreads, and I just I just was like flailing my body all over the room, like to just two people sitting in chairs.
It's awesome.
They were just like, "What the hell is this?" or whatever. And our music was pretty weird. Oh, and then guy said like, "What?" He's like, he's like, "Yeah, man, this is interesting to me." He's like, "What do you listen to?" And I was like, "Well, like Bad Brains, Sade, like, you know, that's my favorite thing." He's just like, "Huh?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, this is weird." Like, you know, I mean, this is like, so then, so he's like, you know, Freddie's like, "Come by the office right now." They were on Beverly at that time.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. He's
right
like,
by Swingers. Yeah.
Right next to Swingers. He's like, "Come to the office, whatever. I want to show you the office, whatever, and blah, blah, and, you know, whatever. We could talk more about this." And I was like, "Cool." So I went by myself.
Oh, shit.
The rest of the guys were like, they were getting on a flight to go back home, and I ended up staying, like, whatever. So I went to the office. I go in Guy's office, and I'm sitting there in a chair, and he's sitting at his desk, you know, like whatever, and we're just talking more about music, and he's asking me, you know, more about my influences, about just, you know, what I like.
He knows the Bad Brains for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and he's big into like Bob Marley's his favorite artist, so he's like really into like, you know, whatever. But we were just talking about all kinds of stuff, and all of a sudden, like, I'm sitting there talking to him, and the door opens behind me, so like kind of whatever. And he starts talking. So I'm facing at him, and he's looking over my shoulder, and he starts talking to somebody, this woman. And I just look over, and Madonna's standing like right next to me.
Holy fuck!
Talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, this me Chino. This is our new artist we're gonna sign, whatever, you know, blah blah." And I was like, you know, hi, you know, just like kind of like stunned, whatever.
Shit.
But as a kid, like, trust me, I mean, I got pictures of me like breakdancing, like with Madonna, like cut off sleeve Madonna shirts on, like whatever. Like she was like,
"Oh shit!"
Yeah, I was bugging, and then like she smelled like so good too. I was just like, you know what I mean? I was just like, it was weird. It was like, as you know, like that was like one of the first famous people I've ever met too. So like right off the bat, I was just like, what? Like, and then
she was nice.
She was super nice. Yeah, it was okay. And then fast forward to like, you know, once we actually signed and we started playing our first shows, like she would come and hang out, and like I remember we played the show at the Viper Room, and you know, I don't know if they still have it there. I don't know if the Viper Room's still there anymore.
Yeah, I was just there. Yeah,
there's this little room. It's like behind a mirror, and it's like this little tiny room that's like the, I guess it would be considered a dressing room, but like,
okay,
you can't really say it's just like a one-way glass mirror.
Okay, and
it literally has enough room for like a little bench seat, whatever. And we're getting ready to play, and she just like walks in, and she sits down next to me, and she's like, "Okay." She's like, "How long do you go on?" I was like, I think we go on in like 5 minutes. She's
second time you met
her? This is probably like second or third time I met her. And she's like, "Okay, are you going to warm up?" And it's just me and her sitting in this little room. She's like, "Going to warm up?" And I was like, "Warm up?" I was like, "I've never warmed up like for a show." She's like, "You don't." Yeah. She's like, "You don't warm up?" I was like, "I don't know what warming up is." Like, I just go on stage and start screaming. You know what I mean? At that point, it was just like, our shows were so raw. I was like, I don't know. She's like, "Okay." She's like, "Is that what you're wearing?" Like, whatever. It's like, my pants are like, I'm wearing like, you know, Dickies, whatever. She's like, "Come here, pull up your pants." She's like pulling up my pants and like helping me with my clothes, whatever. I'm just sitting there. It was like a motherly moment with like, with her. You know what I mean? And at that time, she, I think Bedtime Stories that just came out. Yeah. You know, I think she had like cornrows in her hair or something like that. Whatever.
She had Tupac like, for a second too.
Yeah, it was pretty wild though. But just like, it was surreal. You know, that stuff was surreal.
Fuck, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. You know what else is cool? I've heard you tell on the podcast a couple times about, I think about meeting her in New York.
Yeah, at CBGB's.
Okay, at CBGB's. But she came out to see us in New York at the Limelight one time too, and I remember we were playing. I'm trying to think we were playing. I think it might have been with Korn or something like that, or something at the Limelight or something. But she came to see us, and she was standing in the like one of the little balcony things, and I was sitting there up there like playing in the middle of the show, like screaming whatever, and no one's looking at me. And, like, I'm just like, why is everybody looking up? Whatever. I look up, and like she's standing over the balcony, just like watching the show, and everybody's like watching her watch us, whatever.
Holy shit!
But it was pretty cool. I mean, to think of like the first, you know, our introduction to the music industry and being there, whatever, was like, you know, kind of being under her wing was kind of rad. Yeah. Yeah,
and Freddie DeMann was no joke. He was her manager awesome for many, many years.
Freddie was super awesome. Yeah, and Guy, you know, still talk to Guy. He's her manager now, and he also manages U2 and all kinds of stuff too.
Yeah,
but
he's really smart, dude. Yeah, he's with. He manages her now, and U2. Holy shit! Yeah. And Freddie passed, right?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. I thought maybe I heard that. But your first record was Adrenaline, right? That was the first one you put out.
Yep.
You put that out, and then is that what they heard? You think did they hear that record then want to sign you, or that?
No. They only heard that demo tape.
Oh,
that 2-song tape.
Okay,
so two of those songs ended up on the record. We went in and you know, at that time it was like budgets were still pretty good, so they gave us like this. But they basically asked us, "Who do you want to produce your record?" And we were like, "Or whoever you want." And we were just like, And at that time, we were really into that first Pantera record.
Okay.
Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
And because it was heavy, but it had like groove to it, you know what I mean? And it sounded big.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we want the guy who did that record, and it was Terry Date, and he'd also done like Soundgarden and some other stuff, whatever. At that time, he'd Sir Mix-a-Lot's Swass record.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he'd done some rad stuff, but so he came and saw us in that same practice place that I was telling you about earlier, and we just played some songs for him live in the room. He's like, "Cool, I'll do it." So we went up to Seattle and we recorded it. And the only thing is that we'd asked him, like, "We love this Pantera record. It sounds big, whatever." We're like, "But we don't want it to sound like that. We want it to sound like, like raw." Mm-hmm. So he kind of did make it sound raw, but it sounds like it's like probably my least favorite Deftones record because it's just like, there's like a certain vibe to it because there's like a lot of like raw energy there, but like it's like sound wise, it wasn't like really like, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. We're
talking about Around the Fur, right?
No, we're talking about Adrenaline.
Okay.
So from then, if you go from there to Around the Fur, you hear the jump in production, and it's the same guy, same everything, but like it's like we really like it's produced right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, yeah.
That when that record came out, that was like a game changer, I think.
Right on.
I remember being on the Warped Tour with you guys too.
Yeah, that's the first time I remember seeing you guys. I mean, meeting you and stuff like that back then, and that was a trip because like I didn't really know too much about you guys or even like hardcore stuff. Like, I told you the other day, it's like I like listening to your podcast a lot because like I'm getting schooled on like all kinds of stuff that I missed out on, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember seeing you guys back then and like kind of like being like intimidated, whatever, because like you guys like had like neck tats and stuff like back then too, and I was just like, oh, these dudes are about that life.
Different time.
Yeah, because back then no one had that shit. You know what I mean? Unless like they were like the gangsters from the hood or whatever, or whatever. Like but I didn't know anything about New York like hardcore really. And I'm still learning about it, and it's awesome. Like every time I any time you put a podcast, I kind of like, it's fun because after that I go research and I'll listen to like, Madball or whatever. Like, and I remember them back in the day, but like, I didn't like, it was kind of off my radar. And now it's just like going back and it's like, this is rad. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And when I saw you guys too, I was like, dude, there's a heavy Bad Brains influence for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. We were like, we got to a point when we first got signed. I mean, that was like, we wore that on our sleeve. Like, and then we also got, luckily enough, that was like one of our first tours we went on. Oh, shit. Yeah. Because, to go back just a little bit, sure. When I was Guy Osiris, when we were talking about like influence stuff, whatever, and I was like, I kept telling him about Bad Brains, about how important this band is and this and that, whatever. So he actually was driving down, I forget what street it was, but he saw HR at a bus stop and he swooped him up, he picked him up, and he was like, yeah, you know what I mean, blah blah. Talked to them about getting the band back together, this and that, whatever. Oh, shit. And then. And because he signed them, I remember, and that. Got them back and signed them, got them back together for the God of Love record. Yes. So then, when that record came out, like we opened up for them for as long as that lasted. It only lasted maybe 10 shows, and then we were in Kansas City when that whole thing with the mic stand went down, and he got taken to jail. Yeah, we were opening that show, and wow, I saw it all happen, and the cops arrest him and take him out, and then we had to drive home from Kansas. That wasn't a Beasties tour? No. That was late. No, the Beasties tour happened right before that, and that's when he punched Anthony, and then the manager in the jaw, and then he got like, and also I think he had some weed or something going over the border in Canada. I don't know, something happened, but he got busted, and that tour, like that would have been a rad tour to see the Bad Brains with the Beasties, and I think they did like one show or something, and then it was over. And then it was over. I'm good. And then they did their own headlining tour, and we did all the dates that happened. It was us and this band called Roguish Armament. Yeah, I know them. Who? Chippy Love. Yeah, Chippy Love and them. Chippy Love. Yeah. He hit me up the other day about the podcast. What up, Chip? That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. New York band. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. He used to be on tour with the Bad Brains a lot. Yep. Yeah, the Bad Brains, man. Fuck, just for a moment of Bad Brains, it's just, I feel like the Bad Brains should be like, I don't know, man. I feel like they should be just, I don't know. Yeah, they were nominated in the Hall of Fame. They were nominated last year. Yeah, they were. That's right. I voted. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But they should be like living up there. I don't know. Just so influential to so many people, and like, yeah. Fuck, man. I wish we could see them again someday. You know what I mean? It's wild. It's interesting. And HR, he had him on the podcast. He's like doing way better, and he's just in a good place, and awesome wife. And it's good to see him in that. That's more important than anything. But being able to see the Bad Brains back then was just
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to like to be able to spend time with all those guys, you know, as a band and individually, you know, all and make music with them too, and just you know, it's wild, man. Like I love Doc, you know, he's one of my favorite people in the world, man, and
great musicians and
but it's wild, but especially because it was one of my favorite bands, and then you get to like actually just like you know. Hang out with them. That was like the coolest thing for me. I remember like one of those shows we played on that tour. It was in Sacramento, and after the show, they all came to my house, and I lived in a little tiny apartment at that time. And my son Christian, who you met the other day, who's now 24 or whatever, crazy. He was a baby still, you know, whatever. And
super tall too.
I remember Daryl like coming in there. He's like, "Oh, they're looking at like." So I was like high chair in the kitchen, whatever. Like, "Oh man, you got kids, man? Yeah, man." They were just like, but just like that. The fact that the Bad Bears are hanging out in my kitchen, like you know, in my apartment, or whatever, and it was bugged out.
Surreal, right?
Yeah, totally.
Huge influence. So, so Around the Fur comes out then.
Yeah.
And that changes everything for you guys.
Yeah, I think like we totally like jumped. You know, everything kind of went up a notch. Totally. I mean, like. I feel like the record was a lot better, and I feel like we were just like at that kind of time in our life where we were just having a blast. I mean, on that I think that Warped Tour, that 97 or 98 Warped Tour that you guys were on too, like that was like we were living crazy. We were living crazy, yeah.
You were wilding out?
Yeah. I mean, that was wild times.
Were you like a party guy back then?
Yeah, totally.
Did that start later in life? Because it seems like you said you were like a good kid in high school. You really weren't trying to get in trouble. Did it happen later on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still would somehow avoided trouble, but I definitely was like testing, you know, like every single day.
So that started once you got in the band.
Yeah, I mean once we started traveling and touring, really.
Yeah.
Because like you know you start going to like other towns and other stuff, and then it's like you just get into riffraff, and then you leave, and then you're in a new town the next day, and it just starts all over again. That's kind of how it was.
Did you have a steady girlfriend back then? Or you just kind of just like
I did. I got married like super early, but like I was a terrible husband. Like you know, we got married like because she got pregnant with my son Christian, and I was 20 years old.
Shit.
Yeah, and so actually I might have been 19 when she got pregnant, but no, I was 20, and then he was born like a few months before my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, we should just get married because, you know, we had a kid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was like we both had not really experienced life yet. So like, you know, then I go, okay, I have a kid and we get married, and then I like started going on tour, and then like so like I was living like I wasn't married, and it was pretty wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you kind of got thrown into that. Not thrown into, but like that you weren't really out there being a player before that, or even partying. You seem like you're just like a focused kid in school, and then you get this kind of free. Here's a band. I'm going to go on tour, and it's just like happens kind of fast.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like it's definitely like, you know, and those were like some of the last day. Well, maybe not, because I'm sure young kids get crazy these days. But like as far as like the way it was weird, because like it was like the last days of like that debaucherous rock and roll kind of like
Motley Crue life shit. Like
that. Straight up. Like when we toured with Pantera. Like that shit was crazy. Like what you think like backstage was probably like in the 80s or whatever. Like whatever. Like that shit was happening.
Yeah.
Like every day, like naked girls gambling, drugs, liquor, everything you could possibly imagine, whatever. Like that was going down, and that was also like pre-internet
too, though.
All that stuff. Yeah, pre-cell phones. You know, all that stuff. Whatever.
Just imagine phones back then.
So there was no photo. You know what I mean? So like. We were able to slip through the, you know, whatever, but it was wild back then. And then like, you know, close to those 2000s, everything started to kind of taper, like, you know, whatever. And I don't ever remember things being like that after that, whatever, after a certain amount of time. But like I said, maybe some young bands do that these days, but I can't imagine they do.
If they do, they're doing it like really, I don't know, because the phones, like you said, you can't really wild out too much anymore, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was totally. I mean, like, if you know, crazy to call home. I mean, it's basically just pay phone or smile and dial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the venues, and like that's how you
what
talk.
What is smile and dial? What's that?
Just like a free phone.
In the office or something.
Yeah, go to the office at the venue and call home. And that's what we all, you know. So that's the only time I'd be able to talk to my wife or my mom or my family or whatever.
Think about that with FaceTime and shit. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'd be in like Buffalo, New York, or some crazy place. I don't know, somewhere, and like, you know. And like, yeah, either calling from a hotel phone or a pay phone a lot of times, calling cards,
Yeah.
You used to get calling cards and stuff back
We
then?
had those dialers too. There's like this thing that people made at Radio Shack. They took this thing and you could buy it for $50 from somebody. It sounded like you were putting quarters into it.
Oh, I remember that.
So sick, man.
Yeah.
That was like the way we did it touring.
Yeah.
But just fast forward now, FaceTime, all that, just such a different life. It's so much easier now.
Yeah. But the best thing though was when like I said, smile and dial. Like, so that's what we would say, yo, they got a smile and dial over here. So basically mean like you'd go into the production office and whatever, and you just like call whoever you hadn't talked to in a while, whatever,
Yeah.
and like just catch up and then be like, all right, talk to you next time in a week or so.
Yeah, and those
sometimes.
tours were long back then too.
Totally,
man.
yeah. I mean that's a big reason why I think we still have a career today, because we used to like do touring like crazy, stay out for 3 months at a time,
Damn.
like touring like Europe and stuff like that. And and it sucked if like then, and to think back, like I can't imagine how we did it, but like I think it's a big reason why we still have a career in like a lot of these places. We went and did it, like put down our built a great foundation. Yeah.
Yeah.
In these like little towns here and there, whatever, and just like play anywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did your marriage last after that?
It lasted till let me see, what year was it? I mean, it went quite a while, but let me think when the year was. I should know this stuff.
Did you get caught in that lifestyle?
Kinda, yeah. And it was crazy. Like my wife kind of got like heavy, like into like into drugs and crazy stuff. So like I would come home off tour, and when I'd come home, I'd want to like everything to be normal because everything was like wacky out on the road.
Yeah, you want to balance.
I wanted to come home and be balanced, whatever.
Yeah.
And at that point, my kids were, they were still in elementary school, but they were like, a little bit more like, you could put video games on. Like, at that time, like she would just buy them every video game, whatever, blah, blah, and they'd go in there and play. And this is like probably one of my biggest regrets in life is like, like that, I didn't, I wasn't more of a parent to my, to my boys, and I'm so happy that they turned out as great as they have, and they've never been in trouble or have any drug kind of issues or whatever. Now I'm so proud of that.
Awesome, man.
Because like we were both sort of, I was physically kind of gone doing whatever, and then my wife kind of was checked out, like mentally, like mentally, so whatever, and they kind of like raised themselves a lot when they were young, just like by video games and stuff like that. It's wild, yeah. And then when I go home, it was like the house I lived in then. It was crazy. I lived in like this 2-story house, but like the downstairs was like its own kind of. It had like its own entrance and its own whatever, and it was basically like it was a bar. I had a bar downstairs in my house. It was like a club down. It was like like a tiki bar down there, and I had like record players, some gear down there or whatever. But it was like. So everybody would hang out at my house if I was home, even when I wasn't home, like my wife, that was like, it was like the kick it spot. Mm-hmm. So everybody was always over there, whatever. And it was sort of this whole separate part of the house, whatever, that, my kids would never really go down there. They'd stay upstairs and, doing their own thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And, so I had that. And then I had a little pool house in the back where I would just hang out all the time back there. I had all my gear. I had all my gear back there, whatever. And then I would just like, I basically just like, live back there. And I was kind of heavily into drugs back then too. So I was really isolating myself, and my wife was isolating herself, and it was just really bad. It just like, it was really bad. And, fast forward to today, I'm really happy that she's doing really good now. And, I'd made a decision long ago, just like, I will never do this ever again. And, I haven't since then.
How long have you been sober for now?
I don't really know the day. Let me think. It's definitely been about 10 years. Well,
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, maybe a little less than that, but yeah, I mean, and I still drink, but I won't do any drugs. I don't even really smoke weed anymore.
Yeah. What was two things. So was that around the Fur album cycle when the shit got crazy like that? Like,
no, it was maybe kind of started on the tail end of that, like I said, after all that touring and stuff. But White Pony is when we started to kind of get into like more heavy drugs, and then like the self-titled album, that's when it was like the darkest,
2003.
The dark days that started then, and it was like nutty, yeah.
Fuck. So to rewind for 1 second, when Around the Fur came out and all the success, did you realize, holy shit, this is it's like life changing almost? Did you realize that this is gonna be my career? Like, holy shit, we're really doing this? Before that, you were playing shows, obviously the Adrenaline record, and you got signed to
but still wasn't sure. Like when you get a chance to make your second record, that's always a big thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, it's like, wow, they're going to give us money again to make another record. It must have done well enough. So
yeah, but this was like,
yeah, so they did, and then I felt like we made like a way better record than our first one.
Yeah,
and it was received really well. we started doing like, we started doing like TV shows and stuff like that, or like late night shows. So like I felt like, we were like
MTV, radio, all that shit.
Yeah,
all
all that stuff started popping, yeah.
And so, were you partying leading up to that much or no?
A little bit, but not, I mean, like I said, when I was on the road, not drugs, but just like, drinking and just like, living wild, but not so much drug stuff. The drug stuff didn't happen till like the White Pony stuff started happening. And that was like, when we did that record, we recorded most of it in San Francisco, or not San Francisco, but Sausalito at the record plant there. And but we just like did the main tracking there, and then we came to LA and we rented this mansion up Doheny.
I've never seen this.
It was like Chuck Berry's old house or something like that. And that house was like a party every single night, and that's when like the whole like thing, and that record took us a long time because of that, because we were
And we still married at that point?
We had fun, we had a lot of fun doing it, but like we also were like kind of out of control too. So but luckily, and I mean. Then there you go. The record came out and it was like super successful. So
it wasn't affecting any of that.
So it was like, why should I? We're having fun and like there's really no consequences.
It's not affecting your career.
No. So we just went even deeper, and then it started to like really like
all you guys, the whole band.
No, not so much. Stefan, not really.
Yeah.
He still doesn't drink or anything like that. Yeah. Really, he smokes weed a lot, but me and Abe, me and the drummer, we're like the Toxic Twins. That's what we call ourselves back then. We just like we just like crazy.
It's interesting.
She kind of joined in a little bit, and then it was us three. We were just like out of control.
Wow. Real quick, I didn't want. I knew you, but I didn't want to go say what's up and bother you. But I saw you several times getting your ass trained at Runyon Canyon.
Yeah, man.
I would see you up there on the tennis courts and shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I said hi once, but I saw, oh shit. But I seen you getting your shit together back there. I forgot what year that was.
I think that was 09, I think, or 2010.
You were going hard up there,
dude. I got in crazy shape like for a minute.
What year was that?
I think it was like 09 or 2010. But
so you were getting sober. Yeah, all that shit was focused.
Yeah, right? I mean, what happened was like it was shortly after Cheese accident.
Yeah,
and that was kind of like one of the most like eye-opening things that happened, I think, in my life, where it was like, like when somebody's that close to you, something happens and it's like, you realize like how you're just taking stuff for granted and like whatever. And like, and I was just like, man, like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to talk to my one of my best friends ever again. It was just like, I don't even know if we're there's a band anymore. Like everything just kind of, the rug gets swept underneath your feet.
That was like 2006.
His accident happened in 2008.
2000, okay.
And then, so it's probably 2009 when I started, and I was just like, and we were working on a record at the time, and the record was kind of like it was okay, but it was like still like our work ethic wasn't good. Like, you know what I mean? We were just like kind of doing it like when we wanted to.
How long after White Pony was that record started?
White Pony was
toured on that for a minute, though.
Yeah, huh? White Pony we did a couple years of touring. That was 2000.
Yeah.
Self-titled was probably
2003.
03.
Yeah.
And then the Saturday Night Risk, which that whole era, that was like a 3 or 4 year, just like, that whole time in our career was jacked up.
Damn.
Like seriously, like everybody would come in and just do as little as they could just to do their part, and then
nobody was talking to each other, really.
Not really, no.
Damn.
It was weird. And it was a lot of it because of drugs, man. I think I put a lot of blame on myself because I didn't let people really like. I think everybody was kind of afraid to like talk to or say like, hey man, what's going on with you, whatever, like, whatever, and no one really. And if they did, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I would like, I was totally in denial and totally just like whatever, like, and then I would cut people off. Damn. So then I started like literally cutting people off. And then like no one can get a hold of me. And then I just vamped out. Like I went and did I made this Team Sleep record. This record, and I did that. And my
bass player wanted to tell you he loves that fucking record.
Oh, right on. Thanks.
Can we tell you that today?
Yeah. So I did that, and then I just left because at the time we were halfway through that Saturday Night Risk record, and basically I was left at the studio with like all this fragmented like these songs. It was like everybody kind of did their parts, and I was supposed to like put it all together and then put words on it and make sense of it, and it didn't make any sense to me because it was like it wasn't a collective effort. Like we weren't even like playing our instruments at the same time.
Room to either.
No,
Yeah.
it was like someone would record something, they'd leave, someone else comes. So it was a weird thing, and I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. It was whack.
But you were so in the moment you didn't realize it's because of all the party and all that shit. You really
I mean, not at the moment. I didn't think it was that. I blamed it on everybody else. I mean, our producer at the time was we had what's his name? I just had his name in my head. He did The Wall and stuff like that. This big producer. I can't think of his name. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyways, but he was doing the record with us, and I blamed everything on him because he was just like, whatever. At the same time, he was like doing a Jay-Z record. At the same time, he was doing other things, whatever. And I was like, if he's not going to be here every day, then, whatever, blah, blah. And I'm sure I was really difficult. In retrospect, I was probably the biggest problem, but I blamed, everybody else around me.
Yeah.
And maybe everybody else didn't want to be around me. I don't know. But basically, no one was together at that time. So then I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go put this other record out that I've been wanting to put out for a long time. I was done. And also, I wanted to get sober, like secretly, but I didn't want to admit that. Oh, I'm gonna go get sober. But I was like, I put that record out, and then we went to Europe and toured like for a month straight, where we did 30 shows in 30 days, kind of thing.
I'm grinding.
Yeah, and but out there, I couldn't get any like, you know what I mean? Because my main problem was the people that I did surround myself in Sacramento at the time.
They were enabling the whole
Yeah,
thing.
everybody was like, you know what I mean? And then once I left there and I wasn't around those people every day, it was like easy to quit. And then
you got the money to buy whatever you want, all that shit.
And whatever. So then I came, it was actually only took a couple weeks of me being like sober. And then like I had like just this moment of just like kind of like what the hell have I been doing for the last, 3 or 4 years? Like a moment of clarity kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of made a decision like, oh shit, I'm never gonna do that drug ever again in my life. What
was the drug of choice?
Oh, because it started with coke and then it went to like meth.
Holy shit!
Which is like the craziest thing ever, because it's like at the like in my mind I was like doing more shit than anybody. Like I'd be at the studio all night long working on songs, doing whatever. I would never finish a song, but I'd be working on whatever. So like in my mind I was like, I'm doing all this. And everybody else is sleeping, you know what I mean? Well, I'm up here like doing a million things, whatever. But like literally, like I said, like I wasn't really doing anything. I was just like going in circles, and that's what that drug does to people. Like it's this false sense of like that you are just like on top of things, and that you're doing things, but you're not. Like you're never finished. That's why you see like meth heads their driveways, there's like cars, like 5 cars, all of them like nice cars, but like not one of them run because like they're just like kind of tinkering. That's what I was doing. I was like tinkering with music like all day long. They're turning knobs and EQing stuff and whatever, but like never finishing anything.
And was the label in the mix like, what's going on with you guys? Did they see
kind of? I think they were sort of like, whatever, but like, no one had really stepped to me, whatever.
But your career was still going great though and having success. In the
it was like, it was in a forward trajectory, it was still in an upward trajectory, so it wasn't like whatever. But yeah, like, I was just like, I got to a point where like I would stay in the bathroom for like hours and hours, just sitting there and just like work on music and smoke and just like whatever.
Damn.
Like it was bad. It was really bad.
You think your kids saw that? Your wife saw that?
I don't think they saw it, but they definitely knew that I wasn't there, present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always made a thing where I never did any drugs around my kids, whatever. But I'd be dumb to think that they didn't know something was going on. You know what I mean? And I've talked to them about it now. They're old enough, and I've said, I let them know that, this is what was going on, and I told them, what I mean, how bad I feel, like, this is, whatever. And they're good kids, man. They get it, whatever. And I think if anything, it could be a good reason why they don't, because they saw like probably that was probably one of the most bummer times of their life where both their parents were kind of like incapable of taking them to like the zoo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or just simple things like that, whatever. And like I said, we'd make up for it by like, what do you guys want to eat? Whatever. Oh, you want whatever. You want pizza, whatever. Okay, I'll order pizza for you. Oh, you guys want video games? Here's, $50. Go buy a video game or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever, blah, blah. And it was like, and so like they seemed happy. They were just, they basically ran their own things. As far as getting them to school, I'd get them to school, take them to school and stuff in the morning, whatever. But other than that, I was not there, like, didn't do any extracurricular stuff like that.
Yeah.
It sucked. Yeah. I mean,
fuck.
Yeah.
And so the accident happens and he goes in the hospital.
And then it was like, it was awakening. It's just like, man, I mean, I'd already been sober for a while. I mean, from drugs, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I started getting like way into it's like, you know what, man, I just want to be like, I want to like be the best.
That's when I saw you training.
Yeah, I want to be like the best version of myself that I can be, whatever. And I did. I started like, you know, every morning. It sucked. I lived in Burbank at the time.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so like driving to get to Runyon every day was just like a mess. Parking every day was a mess. But I made it there every day. And not only did I like, you know, hike, you know, do like a few rounds of hiking, but I would go in the tennis courts.
I saw you, bro.
Or the little park, the little yoga park down there, and I would just like straight up do like boxing and do training or like all these little drills. I had this dude that I was working out at that time, and you know, I got
gnarly,
into,
dude.
Yeah, I got into crazy shape. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I want to do that again at some point.
Yeah, that was awesome seeing you up there too. I was like, oh shit, he's getting his fucking workout on.
I went there yesterday, or day for yesterday.
Oh, you did? Brought it back?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then he's in the hospital for, how long is he in the hospital for? It was a long time. That was...
Yeah, he was, I mean, 5 years, you know, until his heart finally gave out.
I can't even imagine it happened to even a friend, let alone a best friend or somebody in my band, or like, that was...
Yeah, man. It was tough because, like, when you see somebody and then like, it's like they're there, but they're not there. Like his eyes were open, he'd be looking at you and you talk to him. But like, you know, like even if you said like, hey man, you know, raise your hand if you understand, like whatever, he wouldn't, you know, it was all involuntary movement.
Yeah.
Whatever, how is that? I think that's how you say it. But yeah, so he didn't like, he wouldn't respond. So it's like, basically he's like, it's just like these eyes, like you're looking to his eyes and it's like, is he there or not? Or is he just a shell there? Like, I don't know. And like, and I know Chi's a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
So like, you know, he must be, there's something going on, you know, I don't know, whatever. Cause he was holding on. I mean, he was holding on to his body.
Long time, man.
Yeah. For 5 years. It was
what
tough.
What were you guys doing at that time?
Well, about a year into it, when, you know, whatever, we all got together at our old practice spot in Sacramento. And we hadn't been there since like we hadn't been there like forever. So like everything was still left like where it was sat. We used to play like a Risk, you know, that game Risk.
Yeah.
We used to have these crazy Risk games or whatever. So our Risk board was still set up. Everything was like the same way we left it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When his accident happened and everything. And we all sat around and started talking, and you know, about what are we gonna do? What should we do about the band? Like, you know, do you guys still want to play or this and that? Everybody's like, you know, and before we kind of like really even like kind of made a decision or whatever, everybody just started like went up to their gear and just, because it was all still where it was left, and turned our gear on and just started like jamming and playing together.
Damn.
And that, like, just making music with the other 4 guys was like therapeutic, was like
a magical moment too,
yeah,
man.
and like we didn't play any old songs, and we just started like just making up stuff whatever at the time.
Wow.
And then we were like, you know, like I would never feel good about you know, like putting an ad out trying to find a bass player. I was like, but you know, let's call it Sergio because he's filled in for Chi before.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah. When Chi broke his foot like back in like 2000, no, like actually like 1999, we were touring with we got this tour with Black Sabbath. It was Black Sabbath. We had just got back together. It was them and Pantera, and then us opening like in arenas, whatever.
Dude.
So I was so stoked, right, to go play these shows, and the day before the first show, he had already broke his foot, but he got a surgery on it, or whatever, and then his foot got a staph infection in it.
Oh fuck!
So he's like, I got to go home and get this operation and get on like, you know, heavy, you know, antibiotics and stuff right now because I can die, you know, this shit gets in my thing. Yeah. So we're like, okay, but we were like, fuck, but we don't want to go off this tour. And we were in New York. So we called it Vega. We had been our friends forever from Quicksand and all that stuff. Yeah.
Great band, dude.
So he's like, hey, I'll come in. So he came in, he learned like 9 songs, like in a couple hours. We I think we went to some studio in New York, and he just like learned 9 songs. And it was all, at that point we only had 2 records out. Yeah, because we hadn't done what's it called yet. We hadn't done White Pony yet. Yeah. So yeah, he learned like a few songs from both those records, and then we went and finished that tour. So he had filled in for Chi before. So we called him up and said, hey, and he hadn't been Sergio hadn't been playing in a while at that point.
Was done. Yeah,
Quicksand was done. He was DJing around New York mostly, and I'd see him every time I go to New York.
Perfect timing, man.
Yeah, and he just like, okay, he's like, I haven't played my bass in a long time, but okay. And he came in, and then we just started jamming. And literally 1 month, like it took us to write like that whole Diamond Eyes record.
Damn.
And we just wrote it from scratch. And it was kind of like, it was like, right? It was like, yeah. And it was like, that was our way of like, just putting, I think, all of everything that we were going through, you know, with missing Chi and just like not knowing how to deal with it, just putting it into our work. And we made that record, and we were really, really proud of it. Like,
it's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
And what a great timing to get Sergio, and he was part of the fam already. He fits perfect.
Yeah,
too, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
it was good. You know, obviously.
And that's big shoes for him to fill too at that moment too.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be hard for him because I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a lot of people too that like, you know, whatever. But at the same time, it's like I think a lot of people understood because it's not like we replaced him with Chi because, you know, Chi could still play and we didn't want him to play. I was like, there was like, if we still wanted to continue as a band, this was like the only option for us. Otherwise, you know, if it wasn't for Sergio coming in, I don't think we would have went looking for a bass player, and who knows where we'd be today. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you never lose hope with him, thinking he'd come out of it?
Yeah, I think that was the thing, just being
Yeah.
optimistic. That was the best way to get through the days of it. Just like, you know what, there could be a day where he just wakes up. It happens to people in comas.
It does, yeah.
They just wake up and they're just like, you know, whatever. So, you know, I always held on to that, and I think that was like sort of the way that Diamond Eyes, the whole record, the whole idea, it was like just like kind of like was about optimism and just being optimistic about the whole sort of vibe.
Positive, keep the PMA and
Yeah, man.
So then that was 2010, and then I can't pronounce it. Koi
no Yokan.
What does that mean?
It's a Japanese phrase that roughly translates, because I don't think there is an actual real English translation, but to the way it's explained to me is like like if you see somebody, when you see somebody that you don't know, and when you the first time you look at them or see them, you get this sort of feeling that you are someday going to be connected to that person, be it however it may be, whether it's romantically or just like, or you have a connection with somebody. And that's happened like a few times in life, like where I've just like randomly seen somebody. I mean, it could be anything. It could be like even like being friends with you. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, seeing you one day, and if that day I would have been like, yo, I'm probably going to, know that dude 20 years now down the road or something like that. You know what I mean? Or whatever like that. It's kind of this premonition type of thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just heard the phrase, and I liked it. It was optimistic again, kind of a vibe. And at that point, like, that was kind of like making records is like, it's kind of a fun thing to put, especially when you're in a metal band or making stuff that's kind of, heavier, whatever. It's like lyrically going in those places that, it's not just like doom and gloom kind of stuff. They're not what we're, especially at that time. Aside from Chi being where he was at, it was like my life was in a very positive place at that time.
Yeah,
like
sober,
spiritually, physically, mentally, just like feeling really good. So we were having a good time making those records, aside from what we were dealing with, with Chi.
Yeah. Do you look back on the you look back on the records when you were doing drugs and think about maybe the stuff you were writing back then? Like, holy shit, I was in a different headspace, or just, you know what I mean? Some of the stuff you're writing. Like,
I mean, it's all pretty much like, if I look back at it's all pretty much like a snapshot of that time in life. I can, and there's and because of that, there's some songs, especially like during that Saturday Night Wrist record and some of the stuff from the self-titled album, that like I don't even want to play. Like,
damn.
Like one few rehearsals ago, we were like going through stuff to play, and I remember like trying to play this one song, Battle Axe, I think is the name of the song, whatever. And I was playing it. Remember the guitar part, like the guitar part. And then I didn't remember the words, and I like looked up the words online just so I can remember the words.
Oh shit!
Because I had been so long since we played it, and I started reading the words, and I was like, "This, like, I don't want to even sing this. This is like so like, it's just
dark.
It just made me feel shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so not to say that we'll never play that song again, whatever. But like, just like I said, there's some song like because things are such a snapshot of that time in your life that like, kind of go back there. You know what I mean? When you play those songs.
Yeah. Was it hard to get sober?
No, not really. No, I mean, like I said, once I had that sort of like moment.
Meth just seems like the fucking gnarliest.
Yeah, right.
It's not like cigarettes or beer or something. It's like,
yeah, but like to me, it was like when I had that moment of clarity. When I was like, what really I did was I really pictured my mind. I pictured me in the bathroom with a fucking meth pipe in my hand and my kids in the other room playing video games. And I was like, when I got sober, I was like, what the fuck was I doing? And I just made a decision in my head. I was like, I will never, ever, ever do that again. Because I mean, literally, like I said, it took like 2 weeks, I think, for like it to get out of my system.
Yeah.
And I was on tour, so it was like, it was like kind of, I guess, like being in like in a someplace where I was like, I couldn't get if I wanted it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could have really found it.
You're in Europe, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But like I was in Europe, I wasn't gonna find it or whatever. So like the
Team Sleep, right?
Yeah. So like the the physical part of it, like whatever, I feel like my body sort of like, got through that part of it. But then when I had that moment of clarity, I was just like, oh, what the hell have I been doing with myself and like whatever. Yeah. And I just made a decision that I would never do it again. And it's the most disgusting thing ever. If you like put that shit in front of my face today, whatever, I'd slap it out of someone's hand. I mean, it's just like, it's gross.
I learned about that shit on Breaking Bad. I really knew nothing about that type of shit.
Yeah, when I watched that show, I mean, it was long after I've been off it. But like watching it was like, like so much shit from that was just like real. It's like gross.
Did the name Team Sleep come from? You kind of was saying like the band was kind of asleep for like. Where did that name come from?
That was just a name that we came up with. Yeah, but it was like. But it was
you guys kind of were asleep.
Yeah, but it was a team of musicians more than anything. Yeah. I think it was like whatever. Oh, I remember I liked the name Sleep. I always liked that. Whatever, but there was already a band called Sleep.
Yeah.
And then the way that the band was, it was sort of like a group of different people, like a drummer, Zach Hill. He was from another band called Hell at the time.
Yeah.
Now he's with Death Grips, whatever. But like it was him, just random people from random bands, and it was sort of like a little team we put together and just made music. So it was like a collective kind of thing.
And what about the other group that had the Bad Brains in it?
Sodage.
Yeah. Where does that name come from?
That's my buddy Chuck's project. Okay. I mean, that's so Chuck Doom, and he's a New Yorker. He grew up with Mackie and all. He knows like a lot of those dudes, and Doc and all those dudes. So he played in a group with me called Crosses. That was one of the projects I had.
So Mackie played on that project?
No, Mackie didn't play. Actually, Mackie on some of the demos, Mackie did play some of the stuff.
I remember this shit now. I was like, I'm working with the Deftones dudes.
Yeah, you're right.
I remember that shit.
You're right. He did on some of the demos that we're having there.
Dude.
Oh, I love. He's one of my favorite drummers to watch.
Me too.
To listen to. I mean, he's just hands down one of my favorites. So yeah, but the Sodage stuff he plays like on a few different of the tracks. And, Doc's on there. This guy Torin who plays with Bowie. A lot of really cool collective people, but that's more of his project, and I just sort of quote unquote executive produce it. I sang on one track so far, but mainly it's just like if he's like, hey, can you get in touch with so and so or so and so and whatever, help him sort of put the project together and whatever. But
and then Crosses and Palms.
Yeah, Palms was the guys from ISIS.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they had broken up as a band.
Not ISIS the
Yeah.
ISIS the band.
Yes, ISIS the band. Who pretty much, I mean, they broke up I think before that whole thing sort of kicked off, whatever. But yeah, they minus two of the guys, whatever, they had made instrumental album, and at the time that was probably around the time too when I was hiking a lot up at Runyon.
Yeah.
And Aaron, one of my buddies, I ran into him up there. He's a drummer from ISIS, whatever, and we just started hiking and stuff together all the time. So we just came home. We talk about music and hike, and then he's like, "Yo, we recorded a new ISIS thing, but it's just all instrumental." He's like, "Would you want to sing on a song or two?" And I was like, "Wait." So he gave me the whole thing, was pretty much already done, and then I just sang over the whole and the songs are like 12-minute long things. So it was like,
damn.
But I was just having fun. I recorded it in his closet at his house in Hollywood. So it wasn't really supposed to be like a super group or anything like that. It was like basically like a project they had, and I just went and sang on some stuff. And but we did do a couple shows, and we had fun with it. It was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the longevity of Deftones, I guess we talked about it. Like, what do you kind of credit that to? Because what's amazing to me is that you guys are a real family. All the shit you've been through, man, it's insane. And here you are today. And you guys just still have a career, and it's amazing. And all the records you did, the highs, the lows of the label, just all the shit. What do you credit that to?
I think friendship is probably the biggest thing, man. Like,
it's real, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we've all been friends before, anything. Through skateboarding, we were hanging out, we were friends. We just we hung out regardless, whatever. It just so happened that we ended up, making some songs together and making whatever, and then being successful from them.
Yeah.
And even through the times I was talking about earlier, like when we were not so much beefing, because we never really beef.
Yeah.
But like that was probably the worst time, and we just didn't talk. And that was like
that's almost worse.
As far as it got. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But that was there was a lot of things around that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But more than, I mean, beside from that, we're pretty close, man. Like, you know what I mean? And we actually enjoy each other's company to this day. I mean, we were rehearsing yesterday. We have a show this weekend, and we even got into like a little tiny tiff yesterday about like somebody was doing something wrong in a song, whatever. And then I was like, "No, you're playing this one note too long." And then Stefan was like, "No, you're not. No, I'm not. I'm playing it right." I was like, no, you are. You're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh, he's like, you just want to be right. And I'm like, not really. I just want the song to be right, whatever. But then we saw like it turned into like a little
brothers,
like a quick little thing. And then the second when we tried it again, then we did it right. And then I went over to him and we both gave each other a hug. And we're just like, you know, because like, and a lot of people think that, especially him and I, because guitar player, singer thing, and then because also he's more of the metalhead in the band, and I'm kind of the opposite, like the yin to that, whatever. So people always think that we're at odds with each other, but in reality, it's like that's my brother. That's like one of my favorite people in the world, and we get along super well. You know what I mean? He's nutty. He's out there a little bit. He's like straight up like flat earther, like no joke.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I love him for it, but he's just like he's got a crazy like idea of a lot of things that are like kind of odd.
Yeah,
you know
I watched that Flatland thing. That doc was really interesting.
Yeah,
I hope you've seen that.
I started to watch it and I might have dozed off, whatever. But he generally believes that.
Yeah,
he generally believes a lot of things that are just like conspiracy wise. That are just like okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you guys are brothers. I mean, it just shows and proves that you're friends beyond the music, and that's what kept it together. It wasn't just like, oh, we sold all these records and we had these hits, and you love what you do, and you guys do it well together, regardless of people's. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Abe and I.
It says a lot about you guys.
I talk to him probably every other day at least. I mean, on the phone.
Yeah.
About stuff that's not. I mean, not music related at all.
Yeah.
Just like random stuff, whatever. We just have a similar sensibility, like where we just get along and we just bullshit about whatever.
Yeah, it's life. So everybody lives in California except for you.
Yep. Abe and Frank live in Sacramento still. They never left.
Yeah.
Stefan moved to LA in 2000. So when we were doing White Pony, he moved down here.
Okay.
And I moved down to LA in like around 2006 maybe.
Burbank area, right?
2005, 2006. Yeah, I moved to Burbank. Yeah, and then so I was here that whole time, and then about 6 years ago I moved up to Bend, Oregon, like a little town up there.
Yeah.
My wife's parents, they have like a ranch up there. They like breed horses and stuff like that, whatever. And,
do you ride horses?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'll go on there. Like I like to hang out with my father-in-law. He's awesome.
Cool.
He's like 72, I think, and but he's like out there every day, like working on the ranch, and so like I go out there and just help him like all the time. They also like farm hay and stuff like that, so I help him with the irrigation and just like I like to hang out with my in-laws a lot, like so we'd go up there to visit them a lot for the holidays and stuff, whatever, and then we decided to like, let's look at for places around here, and then. Like we obviously like you get way more bang for your buck up there compared to like Los Angeles. Is crazy. So we found a nice place, and my daughter at that point was in 3rd grade, so yeah, she transitioned pretty well to being there. She was in a Catholic school before that, went to Burbank here, so she's in private school. But yeah, so now she's a freshman in high school, and I just moved to Portland though like 3 months ago. Yeah. It's
crazy. It goes by fast, and balancing. Now you found a balance now, obviously, because you went through the stuff earlier by being a father and being a musician and balancing. Like, because I always say that going on tour is fantasy world, and then coming home is total reality. Just balancing those two. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I mean that's probably the most important thing is having that balance.
Yeah.
Doing this because they'll complement each other too. Like I feel like I'll be a better, either or. I'm enjoying myself more in music. I'm more involved in the music if I'm not doing it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I come home, I enjoy being a dad and just like enjoy taking my daughter to school every morning.
I love that shit.
Enjoy, all that stuff, all the little things that you miss out on when you're on the road.
Yeah, it's amazing. People think it's like, I mean, obviously you get to do what you love, and you get to travel, and you get to see the world, but at the same time, it's hard when you have a family. You want to do both. Like you don't want to miss that, but also you love playing music and writing and performing and all that. And people think it's like this easy. It's not. It's fun once you're out there, but I hate like the 23 hours in those days waiting to play that 1 hour. Just sometimes it's draining. You just want to you're on FaceTime. You want to go home. You're in Europe somewhere, and it's fucking dreary and depressing.
Yeah, man.
That shit's hard sometimes, man. Like,
yeah, I feel you.
Being away from the fam and living your dreams. And so how long have you been married for now?
So I should know this right off the top of my dome, but I think 8 years now.
8 years.
Or no, let's see. Hold on, let's see. maybe more, maybe 9. Maybe 10. I should know that, but
You get in trouble.
Right? I am going to get in trouble.
And I usually ask this question too, but you mentioned earlier about regrets. You talked about your regrets. And I already know one of my questions too is like, you're an optimist or a pessimist, but you're definitely you got the PMA for sure.
Yeah.
And that's something that seems like you always had in your life.
I think so, yeah.
You're like never like a negative kid or like an angry person. Or
Yeah, I mean, I went through a stage when I was young, like where I was getting I mean, actually, this was like early on, when the band first started, whatever. But I went through this one, like maybe a year or two thing where I was like getting in fights and stuff a lot. Like I was like mad, like
at school.
Not at school. Like I was out of school. This is like when we were like in a band. We were like playing, like we would like go out and someone would look at me weird and I'd be like, "What?" You know what I mean?
Chip
like
on your shoulder.
Yeah, just kind of. I don't know what it was, but like I kind of went through this thing, but what's crazy? What ended that was like we were actually playing a show one time. We were in Bakersfield. This was like one of the first times we were actually out playing shows, and we were in a show in Bakersfield. Some dude came up. We were playing at this little place. There's hardly anybody there. This dude was heckling the whole show, whatever. But it was like whatever. I didn't really care about the heckling. But then he ran up on Chi, and he pushed him. Like when he was playing his bass, he like went up. Like there's no one up there. And he went up there and pushed him, whatever. And I just snapped, and I went off stage, and I just started like beating the dude up, whatever. They pulled us apart, and the dude got pulled out of the club, and then we kept playing the show, and probably played like 2 more songs, and the show was over. So we're after the thing, we're loading up our gear, and this dude comes back with 8 of his friends with pipes and knives and shit, and they come around the thing where we're loading up the trailer, and everybody started running. Abe, drummer,
the band?
we all started running because these dudes coming. We saw him come around the corner, and I was like, "Oh, these motherfuckers came back!" And I could see one of the dude had a pipe in his hand, whatever, just like running towards us. So we turned around and started jetting, and Abe, poor little Abe, didn't see them coming, whatever. So they got him, and they broke his jaw, broke his collarbone, whatever. So we circled around, we ran around the building. By the time we were coming around the building, I saw them jump into a car and drive off, and I just see Chi laying there, or Abe laying there, and Chi's arms. Chi's sitting on the curb.
My God.
And Abe's laying there unconscious in Chi's arms, and Chi I think had got socked too, whatever. I think he had a black eye or something like that, whatever. But he was holding Abe, and then we took him to the hospital. And at that point, that was a life learning experience. I was just like, "Oh, dude, I can't let my temper, because I got mad, I hit some dude, and now instead of me getting my ass kicked, I had to see my best friend who had nothing to do with anything get his ass kicked." So that was the end of me fighting, or just where I just calmed down and I just got really just this, I'm not a fighter. I'm not I don't like violence.
Yeah, I don't like it either, man.
Yeah.
I didn't mind seeing violence in movies and shit like that, or just some of the shit I experienced growing up seeing New York through some of my wild friends. But then when you have a kid, the whole perspective of life kind of changes in the world, and violence and all that shit, and the bullying, just all that shit.
Yeah.
It's heavy. Did you became a dad? Did you change a little bit your perception of?
Really, when I had my daughter, for sure. I mean, that was a big kind of thing for me.
Yeah. Get emotional and shit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I still am. My daughter's
so
just
emo.
Yeah, straight emo. my daughter and my wife make fun of. They call me emo all the time.
Me too, man. My wife's tougher than I am. I'm always crying to dumb movies and commercials and all this shit.
They clown on me all day. But it's but I don't mind. I mean, it's it's who I am. It's a part of me. I mean, it's just the way I am, I guess. Yeah.
They always call you baby and shit for getting emotional.
Yeah, they literally say emo. They use the word emo. My daughter even say "Dad, why are you being all emo right now?"
Yeah, my wife does that too. And if I'm in the movie crying, I see my wife and my son pointing at me. I'm like, whatever. I'm fucking emotional. For me, I think I never get therapy, but I definitely think me and my brothers need therapy from my dad dying when I was 3 years old. My mom raising 3 boys.
Yeah,
I talk about it on the podcast many times, and I feel like this is kind of therapeutic for me to talk about it or write lyrics about it. But definitely need to see somebody about that, because anything with a parent dying or some shit, dude, I'm just fucked. I can't even talk. One time Moon had to almost carry out some fucking movie we saw a couple years ago. I was just bawling.
You remember what it was?
Moon, you here? I don't know what the fuck the movie was, man. It fucking killed me, man. Just crushed me. Yeah. Another thing I was going to bring up, too, is it was interesting to talk about all the different shit in the band. I had Jim from Pennywise on the podcast 2 days ago. He talked about how Pennywise went to therapy 3 times.
As a band?
As a band.
Wow.
And how like he was talking about maybe there should be some sort of band therapist that comes on tours and sits with bands, because bands are like dysfunctional families or brothers and you know what I'm saying? Like, but they all went to therapy together. It's interesting.
I think it depends. I mean, you do have to get it's hard for me because I keep thinking about that Metallica one
dude,
and that was like the worst thing in the world to watch. It was so hard to watch.
I know, man.
And like I just think
especially if Metallica, like holy shit, that's Metallica.
But I think it was more or less the therapist. That dude seemed kind of like a jackass. So like I was just like, you know, I don't know, like it'd have to be the right person.
Well, but definitely don't film it. But
that is probably a big thing. But but you know where I'm lucky as like, you know, go back to our friendships, like whatever, like we actually talk like as a band, like we'll talk about certain things, whatever, like, you know what I mean. So that's healthy. I think that's
no secrets.
That's a big reason why I think we're able to function that way, because we actually do talk to each other about things like, you know, that are a little deeper sometimes.
Yeah. Is there anything besides sobriety that you would have did different with Deftones, or are you happy with the whole entire career and everything you guys been through? And
yeah, that's a hard question. Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, it always goes back to like, you know, what led us here in a way. You know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I just think all that kind of stuff, whatever. I wish I could learn my lesson a lot earlier in life, and you know, I think more not so much as a band, but just as a father. I think that's my main regret is like wishing I would have been
to be there, not just physically but mentally.
Yeah.
And so Deftones been around since '89.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we always claim '88, but I don't know if that's true. I feel like
amazing,
because like we started playing with, at least Stefan and me were playing around that time. Like, you know, when I was a freshman in high school, which was been '88. Supposed to graduate in '91. So yeah, '88, '89, '91. Yeah. So no, 88 would have been the first part of the year would have been. So my sophomore year would have been '88. So yeah, probably '88, '89, probably right around there.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's such a long fucking time, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's in retrospect, it's pretty wild to think that like out of
and he's still doing it.
Over half my life, I've been like,
it's all you've been doing since then.
Yeah, with this, yeah.
It's just playing music and doing your love and fucking.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky for that. I mean, you know, being able to just grow up, become a man. I mean, pretty much, you know, grow up and become
everything in the band.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's hard to put Deftones in a genre. It really is, man. It's hard to do it like, because you have so many different sounds and inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Definitely the Bad Brains vibe, and definitely there's a lot of melody in there. But it's not like you can't say it's a metal band or a rock band or a hardcore. I just feel like it's hard. Could you figure out what kind of, when people ask you like a random
I always it depends. I'll look at the person and then say what kind of answer she gets. So it's like an older lady or something at a supermarket. Oh, what do you do? I play in a band. What kind of? I'll say, I'm playing a rock band, a rock and roll band, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's somebody who I think might know a little bit more about music, I'll be like, I play like in a metal band, or like I call it like a hard rock or like a, I don't know. It depends who I'm talking to, whatever. But it is. There's not really any name for it. Whatever.
There isn't, man.
You know
you guys kind of created your
own name. Which I think is good, too, because anytime a name comes on something, it seems to screw it up, too.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's cool you created like your own lane as far as like style and music, because I can't put it in a category. I still can't. I don't know what category it's in at the record stores when there was record stores.
Yeah.
Might have been under rock or something, or metal. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I think it started out being in the metal section, whatever. I think it maybe alternative now. I don't even I don't even think there is alternative now.
There was back then, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's now.
Matt Pinfield, the alternative fucking...
Right? 120 minutes.
How come no solo hip-hop record?
Yo, he was having a great time the other night at that Cure show.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, cool I watched like half the show with him on stage.
He's a sober dude now, too, man.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
How come no like solo hip-hop record from you? Because you love hip-hop so much. You breakdanced.
I don't know. I thought about it, but then I at the same time, it's like I don't know how genuine it'd be now in my life. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger, especially when I was going through that era when I was telling you when I was just like bitter when I had a chip and then that year or two when I had a chip in my shoulder when I was whatever, like when I thought, you know, that I was hard, I guess, whatever, or like whatever. Like I probably could have made something like okay back then, because I really believed in my head that I was just like angry and I was just mad at the world and or whatever. I just like I had a chip on my shoulder. I always thought someone was like, because we did go through that. It's crazy. At that time, we did get a little bit of flack from like, and we were in Sacramento because there was like a hardcore scene in Sacramento.
Okay.
And there were like straight edge hardcore bands, whatever, too, and they didn't like us at all. Like, and some of it had to do with probably a lot of it had to do with jealousy, I guess, in a way, because like we had like a strong fan base. We had a lot of people at our shows. A lot of the like our shows were like hardcore shows because they were like hard, whatever. But like we were not hard. We were not in their scene, right? Gotcha. So there's a couple of dudes that were always talk shit. They would always come to shows. They'd always fucking like seriously. I'd be singing. They'd come right in front of me, flip me out to my face, whatever kind of shit like that. Yeah, I mean, and so I was just like, like that was my main thing that I was mad about when I was a kid. I was like, where people would judge me or talk, and they don't even know who the fuck I am, and that would make me pissed off as a kid. I don't know why. As a young man, I guess like that was like where I puffed my chest out. I'd be like, "Oh, motherfucker, you don't know me. Like, who do you think you're talking to? You know, whatever." So that's what like would get me into fights and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But around that time, like I picture if I'd have made like more like of a, I don't want to say hardcore hip hop, but I felt like it would have been more genuine, like me rapping, because I like that anger was there, whatever. Yeah. Because that's the kind of rap I like. I like gangster rap. I like. I've never really been into like conscious rap or backpack rap or whatever kind of stuff like that. I like stuff that's like edgy, hard like rap.
You like East Coast shit too?
Some, but I mean, I mostly like Cube, man. I like Cube. I like.
He's underrated, man, for sure. As one of the top.
I like. Yeah, I mean, I just.
Who'll be your top 5?
Oh, that's it. Oh man,
it's gonna be all West Coast too.
Question. It might be.
You don't fuck with Nas or Jay or Biggie?
Yeah, I like Biggie. Nas, I just listened to Illmatic the other day in my truck, and I remembered how good it was. I remember I got it when it first came out. I liked it. New York State of Mind, that song is dope.
That's a flawless hip. That's
good.
The top. That's one of the best.
I still do. I actually jacked up that "Life's a Bitch and Then You Die." That's what I one of our songs. Every now and then I'll throw that line in there, whatever, like to the thing, whatever. But I like that record. But I like Wu-Tang probably the best out of the East Coast stuff. I like Ultramagnetic because I like Kool Keith. I still love Kool Keith. He's still so interesting. He's still one of my favorite rappers just because the shit he says and how he says it is fucking off the wall. Were you on the Warped Tour
when he was on there?
Nuh-uh.
All right.
Nuh-uh.
He was rocking cowboy boots. Was so sick on the Warped Tour. And like big
I love that dude.
Shorts. Yeah.
I love that dude.
Ultramagnetic. That's sick, man.
Yeah.
So definitely Ice Cube, NWA.
Yeah. NWA. What else do I like from him? I mean, I like DJ Quick.
Oh yeah.
Like who else do I?
Did you fuck with Nipsey?
You know what? Not too much. I didn't know too much about him. I still haven't really like. Really I figured one day I'm gonna have to sit down and dig into it.
Yeah,
and
it's
whatever.
really great, man.
Yeah.
Really smart. Really like. Yeah, he was great, man.
Yeah.
Is there any new hip hop?
Not anything that I'm aware of.
The kids like hip hop.
My daughter listens to some stuff. I mean, she's really good though about like she won't play anything in front of, like, especially if it has cuss words, whatever. But I know she knows of it, whatever.
How old is she now?
She's 15. So she knows about it, whatever. But it's funny because she had one of her friends over the other day, and her friend was in the car, and her friend put on something in the car, and it was like some bitch's hoe shit, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I was like my daughter got all like nervous, like telling her like turn it off, like whatever. Even though
is there a strict no swear rule?
No, not at all. But I think she just like kind of has respect, like whatever. Where she like knows if she is gonna listen to it, like don't listen in front of us. You know, when I was a kid, I was listening to Too Short and shit like that. Like I can imagine my daughter hearing that shit these days. You know what I mean?
Shit,
but I'm sure she has heard some of it, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I can't be that naive to think that just she's out in the real world. Eventually she's gonna hear this stuff, whatever. So.
It's crazy what the kids are exposed to now too, with the internet, with all that. And I love that you're not on. You're on, but you're kind of off the grid in a sense.
Yeah, I feel that way.
You're low pro on the internet,
dude. I could. I mean, like social media is. I'm very low key on that.
Yeah,
I barely. I have an Instagram, but I barely post anything.
I know.
And then like, but even like in public, like I kind of like the level of success that I think that I'm at, whatever. Where it's like, I could go anywhere. I've never had security guards. I never like, I almost go everywhere by myself. I ride my bike everywhere. Every time I go to, I always have my bike with me.
Yeah.
So I ride my bicycle everywhere in towns, wherever, and I go into like pubs, record stores, anywhere. I mean barbershops, anything, whatever, and like. And I just meet people and I talk to people, and people are always like stoked about that, and I'm stoked about that. That I feel like sometimes the most thing people say, "Oh shit, Chino." When I was leaving the hotel this morning, this kid's like, some Mexican kid's like, "Are you Chino?" It's like, "Yeah, man. Can I take a picture?" Sure. Like, that's it. Just happy to whatever, just to whatever. People aren't like overbearing. So I'm not that type of famous where I can't go places or people are overbearing. People are Generally, cool. If they know about my band, it's usually because they're not just fly-by-night music people. They kind of, you know what I'm saying? They know, so they're just kind of stoked, and they respect in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Does it happen in Oregon too? Get recognized and stuff?
Yeah, but not that much. You know,
yeah.
It's like, you know, maybe once or twice every couple days. It's not like, you know, yeah. And I don't really go out like. Then again, I don't really like go out to clubs anymore and stuff like that. Whatever, you know. My life's,
homebody.
I'm very much a homebody. So when I do go out, it's like, you know, Home Depot and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like, yeah.
Just real life shit, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about the kids and the phones and being exposed to all this shit now? It's kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad actually, more than anything, because like I feel like kids are missing out on experiencing like life experiences. You know? Yeah,
like we're off the phone, skating, all that shit, like just living.
I mean, like if you wanted to find something. Oh, there's a half pipe over here. There's a ditch over here. You want to go skate? Where's it at? You know, like GPS, whatever. You have to kind of remember directions someone told you in your head, and you get on your skateboard and you ride until you find it. And you stop and talk to people. Hey, do you know about this or you know about that? Whatever, blah blah. Same with music. Same with finding music. And I think the reason why I have such a kinship with music is that you had to search shit out.
Totally.
Like it was like especially the music that we liked wasn't like, you know, even me liking all these British bands, whatever, like. You know, yeah, I guess they were somewhat popular. Like, you know, some stuff you had to search it out. You had to go find magazines and read them and like
even like
or talk
list.
to people, read thank you lists and people open up the records and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean that's how you find out about so many other bands. Is seeing what bands people think
or a shirt they're wearing, anything like that.
Yep, for sure.
So different. Kids are never gonna have that.
Yeah,
they just go on their phone. That's it. The discography's right there. It's fucking.
And that's what's kind of sad because like they know because that's how you kind of get where you kind of feel like. I don't want to say ownership, but you feel a little bit more connected to music.
I found this
because you found it or whatever, or someone, you know, like whatever, but it wasn't like, you know, just everybody knows about this, whatever, you know, basic. Yeah. I guess whatever. That's my daughter would say basic.
Basic. That's my son. Obviously he's growing up around hardcore and punk rock and blues and all this shit my wife listens to. But then like a couple years ago, Slayer was playing and my friend was working for him. I said, let's go check out this band Slayer. You might like him. Checked out. I was like, oh, that's cool. But then we went to a different stage and that band Fit for an Autopsy was playing and my son's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And he just
how old was he then?
14.
Okay.
Just clung to death metal and like all this, like all this stuff that he would have never heard in our household. He kind of found his own music. Yeah. And he connected to it. Now his favorite band in the whole world is Slipknot. And he just loves that and fucking Fit for an Autopsy and Death and all the. He's like showing me the shit that I never even listened to before. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
well, my son does the same thing. I mean,
your older one?
My older one, yeah. I mean, they both do. And my daughter too.
I just want to say your son has such a cool style. When I saw him, dude.
Yeah, he's pretty. He's like really worldly for like. He's like super like. He turns me on the craziest like French electro weird. Like he knows about. And it's cool because he likes a lot of new wave stuff, you know, whatever. Like so he even shows me some stuff that is from the 80s. And I'm like, how did I never hear about this? He's like, this German band, blah, blah, blah. Like, play stuff for me. And I'm just like, and it's awesome. He's actually DJing our festival this week. He did it last year too, but he basically played between all the bands, whatever stages, you know, they're doing changeover. He's doing it. He'll do that. And he's very eclectic. He's musically like crazy eclectic.
He had such a cool style. I was like, oh shit, that's your kid. He's super tall and shit.
Yeah, he's a smart kid. He's really street smart and he's super loving, good kid.
Yeah, and then your other kid's a vegan.
Yeah, he's hardcore animal.
He's got a fanzine and shit.
Yeah, he's got an animal liberation zine that he puts out.
So how do you get into? If you're not into that, how do you get into it? Just
he was really like into punk. He's been in a few different punk bands, whatever. But like I just think like the scene, whatever. Like you know, stuff he's into. I mean, the other day he actually hit me up and he was like, "Hey, could you get a hold of this guy from Napalm Death,
Barney? That's my
Barney."
Dude.
He's like, "Do you know Barney?" I was like, "No, I don't." He's like. Really? Could you get
my dude?
Yeah, he's like, because I want to get a hold of him. I want to interview him for my zine, whatever. Blah, blah. And I was
He'll do it in a second.
Okay, yeah.
I was supposed to have my podcast, but he actually rolled his ankle, and then he found out later that his ankle was broken on most of the whole tour.
Oh, that sucks.
So he sat in a chair the other night when he played with Sick of It All and Municipal Waste. He had to sit in a chair.
Okay.
But I'll definitely connect your son.
Okay.
And Barney's an OG vegan too.
Yeah.
That's
so he's
so cool.
but my son's like, you know, he does like, you know, he stands with signs. He goes to like I think the other thing, like the you know, when they take the pigs in there and the people go and they give them water and stuff like that.
Vigils. I go to vigils every week.
Yeah, so they do it up somewhere up north too, I think, whatever too, where him and his girlfriend, they do that kind of stuff too. Like he's super animal.
We're in the same thing. I go to all the pig vigils also. That's fucking awesome. Yeah. He goes to that.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He is 22.
And so he wasn't raised vegan. He just got into it that way.
No, but you know what? It's crazy. He's like, he's always been really, like, he doesn't like violence at all too. I remember like there was these cartoons when he was little, like I forget the name of the cartoon that I got for him. It was like this DVD of this cartoon.
Ren and Stimpy?
No, it wasn't Ren and Stimpy. It was something like that though. And he came and he put it back in the DVD case and he came and brought it to me. He's like, Dad, I don't want to watch this. It's too violent, like whatever. Because it was like, you know, animals, like cartoon, but whatever. But it was like, you know, kind of like, you know, Tom and Jerry type of stuff, but like, you know, violent, like animals.
That shit
like,
was really violent.
Yeah, and there was a time I think during that, whenever like when cartoons were getting a little like very edgy, like that, bloody and whatever, whatever. And like he just like as a little kid, I remember he just like didn't. He was like, Dad, I can't watch this. I don't want to watch this. You know, whatever, kind of whatever. I was like, oh shit, and I looked at it. I was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't. I can see why you wouldn't want to watch this, whatever. But like, but he's always super like you know, like the warmest hearted compassionate kid that you'll ever meet. Like he won't know you, like he'll come and he hugs everybody. He's super nice kid. But it's crazy because he's the crust punk, like, you know, crazy, like whatever. So like when people see him, they probably just think like he's just like
holy shit,
crazy punk rock kid, but whatever. But he's like the warmest soul.
And hardcore animal rights too, like activist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does he go to school and stuff or no? College
no, he's out of school. He works like I think he might take a class or two at like City College, but he has like 2 jobs. He works like a couple restaurants and lives with his girlfriend, rides his bike. Too? He won't drive a car. You know, he's just like super
he's legit.
He's legit. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then we skipped about your last record, Gore, that came out in 2016.
Yep.
And how was that received?
It was kind of weird. It was like the first time when we put in a while that we put out a record that we just like kind of took our time with and sort of, I don't want to say I don't know. I want to say that we kind of got out of what we put into it. It was one of those things where like we kind of just like, we kind of made it on our spare time and just kind of whatever, blah, blah. But we didn't really. Stefan had a hard time sort of connecting with us because what happened was that we since we're all living out of town, we were working out here we're working in the Valley at this little spot, this little lockout we had, and so I'd be here staying in a hotel room.
Shit.
And I just wanted to be home. So like if I'm here, I want to be working. So
the downtime sucks.
So the downtime sucks. So I'd be in the studio, and then Stefan would show up, and he'd be like, very nonchalant, very whatever. And like me and Serge were just like, we're here. Like we'd been up since 7 a.m. having coffee and just like whatever, like talking about the stuff we're working on. So we go in there and we start working right away. And I think in the way what ended up happening is he kind of started to feel edged out a little bit. Like Sergio and I were just doing a bunch of writing.
Gotcha.
We're waiting for him to come in and write song. But if he wasn't going to come in enjoying what we're doing or start something new, we would just continue on what we're doing. Yeah. So just because we're here.
Yeah.
Living in a hotel room.
Yeah, for sure.
Away from our families, whatever. He lives here, so for him it's a little bit more relaxed. So
totally.
So that dynamic sort of carried over through the recording of it. So by the time the record was done, Stefan wasn't as much a part of. He was a part of the record, but not as much as I would like him to be, as the fans and everybody would like him to be. Yeah. And then what ended up happening is as soon as the record came out, he did an interview and he was honest, and he said, yeah, I wasn't really much part of this record. So right away everybody said, well, it was like, it's not really Joe Deftones record. It's more like whatever. So then everybody kind of got that opinion, like, whatever. And in retrospect, I listened back to the record. It's good. I think it could have been mixed better. There's certain things that could have been better about it here and there, whatever. But I don't think it's a bad record by any means. But would I like Stefan to be more involved in it? Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the record kind of sits, in that area. So now we're making a new one. We worked on most of it over the last summer, and I'm working on the vocals for it right now. But
awesome.
But I think that was a learning experience that Deftones records should be a real collective, and they don't need to come out until they are that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we don't need to rush it, or we don't need whatever. So, when everybody's together and is equally contributing and that whatever, that's when we do our best work. So,
do you ever let the opinions of the critics bother you?
I would say I don't, but hell yeah, that shit. Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, man, I'll read something, like I'll read a million good things and I read one bad thing, and then the rest of the day I'm just like bummed.
Or like one negative comment, my wife's like, "You're a fucking pussy." You letting that one fucking comment bother you out of like hundreds, like one thing.
I mean, it doesn't bother me that bad because you do have to know that it's like it's like we're the one making the like, you know what I mean? If you really like to research and look at this person, do they even make music? You know what I mean? If they did, is it good or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? It's like, I've also been doing this for, you know, the fact that I can still write songs after being with the same dudes for this long, whatever. I'm pretty proud that we still make music. So like, I'm sure not everybody's going to like it. It's not going to be everybody's favorite thing that we've done.
Yeah.
You know, we also have a lot to that we have to live up to. I mean, we've made some really rad records, really young in our career.
Yeah.
You know, and I was a kid then. I'm 46 years old now, so like, you know, I'm not the same person.
Good for 46, man.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. But yeah, we have, you know, like, happy just that I'm still making music. So to let anybody like deter me from like or really feel bad about it, like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. Is that kind of why you don't fuck with the internet too? Because all the negativity and shit.
Yeah. Well, also too, because like, I think once you open up yourself to a certain thing, then it's like you become a slave to it in a way where it's like, see, like I have a Twitter account, whatever, and that's the only like open thing that I have, because my Instagram's private and my Facebook is the only one I have, and that's just my friends and family private too, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you have to accept people, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
But my Twitter isn't. But I never answer anybody back on Twitter and I feel kind of bad sometimes, because sometimes people will like at me and they'll put some real heartfelt shit, and I just want to like write back like, hey, I read this. But then I know once I respond to one person, I open it up, and then I don't respond to someone else is going to be mad at me because I didn't whatever. So if I just don't do it at all, then it just like kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, whatever. Yeah. So in a way, it kind of sucks. It's like whatever. I actually don't even really use Twitter that much. If anything, I usually tweet a link to a song or some music, a YouTube clip of some a live performance of a band or some rare music or something like that, whatever that I'm listening to, whatever. And honestly, that's what I would like. If more than I'd like to hear anybody who music I admire, whatever, blah blah. Instead of hearing or seeing a picture of them, their cereal or what they're eating, whatever. I'd much rather like or a selfie of themselves. I'd much rather like have them turn me on to some music or you know,
something,
an article of something or something like whatever, like, oh, that's what they're into, you know what I mean? Because then I feel like that's knowing them a little bit more than just like tweeting out, hey, I'm here at so and so, this or that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you ever feel like quitting or trying something else that wasn't music?
I did at that time, like that hard time, whatever. I did think about quitting, without really any thought, like, what else am I going to do? I didn't really think about that. So actually, I didn't think about it too hard. But
you never had a plan B though, right?
No. I mean,
it's kind of awesome.
I mean, I love music, and I would love to just like do something with music. You know what I mean? I got last year I did something really cool. I got to do this score this movie or this like series thing on Hulu.
Oh shit!
And it was my first time doing that, and I had a blast doing it. I have a like studio at my house with like tons of like old keyboards and stuff like that I like to like, you know, mess with. Cool. So like I went and just like watched it all and just like made a score to this thing, and it was super fun.
Damn.
So I'd be interested in doing like something that later on in life, like, you know, when I'm not, you know, able to run around and scream my head off anymore, I'd like to be able to like still be creative musically, but maybe, you know, still be able to make a living doing it, maybe something like that, you know.
Yeah, it's such an amazing journey you had. So just 88, whatever, 89, just till now, it's fucking, you're doing what you love. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, man.
Your parents super psyched you. They did a bunch of your shows, obviously.
Both my parents are very supportive and just super happy and proud. And they'll both be there on San Diego on Saturday. So
this is your festival Saturday?
Yeah. It'll be the second year that we did it. We last year we did the first one, Dia de los Deftones, and it's
Halloween vibe.
Kind of, you know, Day of the Dead kind of vibe. Yeah. And we but the funnest thing is curating the artists. So it's like, you know,
all the art looks dope, all the stuff for the.
Yeah, it's kind of like making a mixtape, but like a live show. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you know, and that's kind of how. Kind of was scrolling through my iTunes. Okay, let's like what would be fun like to see. You know, like it's like a band like Hum that's playing this one, whatever. It's like they're not they. I didn't even know they were together as a band or playing shows anymore.
Oh shit!
But I was like, I always wanted to see them. Like whatever. I've never seen them live, and I've been to that band since the mid '90s. I know they broke up for a while, But yeah, like they got back together, or either they were back together, or whatever. But yeah, they announced to do the show, so they're doing it.
My son likes Gojira.
Gojira, yeah.
What is
Gojira is awesome. They're
Okay.
they're a French metal band.
Okay, yeah.
But they're really good, man. They're like musically really good, super tight, consistent, and like really cool, like groove, metal kind of melody stuff, whatever. And their lyrics are really cool. They're like kind of environmental, like like talk about things that are not preachy, but just like artistically, it's not like dumb metal shit.
Yeah, it's educational.
It's just like it's interesting.
Yeah,
and the music is really good, and they're French.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there any new stuff you listen to? New bands?
Oh man.
Or do you tend to stay on the old classic stuff?
No, I mean I listen. I get up and listen and research music pretty much every day, every other day.
YouTube is everywhere. Just checking
YouTube,
shit out.
but also like there's a few sites that I go to like that. Like it shows like new releases, like stuff that's not even on the like in iTunes, just like random like underground stuff, whatever. There's like a few sites that I've found over the years.
That's fucking awesome.
And so you can just like there's some. Yeah, you just find whatever, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of like going back to your kid where you just like see the artwork and you'd be like, I don't even know who this is.
Yeah.
And then it says the description of it will say like I don't know, like down tempo something, whatever, blah, blah, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just like, and then if the album cover looks cool. Right, I'll just be like instead of like downloading it, whatever, I'll like search for it on YouTube so I can find anything else from them, and if I like it, then I'll go find it and get it. Yeah. But yeah, there's tons of stuff like that. I mean, like if I look at my phone, but like it's just like nothing with like let's see, like recent download. Like I've been listening to like Niels Fromm. I don't know if you know who that is, a piano dude. He's put out a couple of good records in the last couple of years, but like just super lo-fi, like piano stuff where you can hear like the pedals, like him. It's like it's the way it's recorded. It's like it sounds like you're in the room with him, just playing piano. It's really melancholy, like sad piano stuff. But like, and that's another reason why my wife and my daughter call me emo all the time, because I listen to like what I mean. I love like when we cook or when I'm cooking or when we're eating dinner, like whatever. I always have like rad music playing in the house, whatever. And it's
chill, yeah.
But it's usually pretty sad stuff like this, whatever. So they're like, turn this off, whatever. But
are you a Coldplay fan or no?
That's a really good question. So here's the thing with Coldplay. I got into trouble for this not too long ago.
Really?
Yeah. So check this out. So I was in. I
really love The Cure because we had a little emo moment at that. I got emo and I turned it on. I saw you. I was emo one of the songs. That was a great moment.
Here's the thing. I haven't heard the right Coldplay song yet.
I'm gonna set you up
because all I've heard, I know the Yellow song and I know the ones the hits that I don't really like. They just don't do anything for me. So, but I was doing an interview, and they were like, and this is like a loaded question that anytime you do an interview, like what don't you like or whatever, blah blah, and it's like, and like. I hate answering that question because right away it's like talking shit, and I don't like to talk shit. You know what I mean?
It's a setup.
So it is a setup. So I said, well, it's not that I don't like them, but I said, but this was on in the car the other day, and like it didn't make me feel anything. I was like, it was Coldplay, and like it didn't make me sad, happy, anything. It just sounded like elevator music, something to me, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then, the backlash was crazy. Chino talks shit about Coldplay. He hates Coldplay, blah, blah, whatever. So, like, then people started, like, tweeting me, like, whatever. What do you mean Coldplay sucks? You suck. Your band sucks, whatever, blah, blah. And it's just
dude.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, why did I even answer that question? Mm-hmm. So, that being said, I was at a bar one time, and a Coldplay was on actually, and I was like, and I didn't know what it was, and it must have been a Rare song or something. I asked him, I was like, "What is this?" He saw this Coldplay. I was like, "This is Coldplay," and it must be one of the first records or something, but because it didn't sound like the really over polished kind of like stuff, whatever it is. So then I was like, so then I said to myself, you know what, I need to go back and like listen to some stuff because I bet you they do have some stuff that I would probably relate to.
Yeah. So Ghost Stories is kind of a dark record. You might like that.
Is that one of the earlier ones?
It's a couple. It's like 4 albums maybe back. Okay. It wasn't like a happy-go-lucky album. It was kind of he was in a place where he got a divorce with his wife. So is that your emo go-to? Like if you want to just like get into your feelings. U2 and Coldplay, man. U2, Coldplay. I love Sade. I love Cranberries. I love the Sundays.
Okay, I like Sundays. Yeah.
Embrace. I don't know if you know what Embrace is. It's dude, you'd fucking love Embrace if you haven't heard him.
Embrace, I've heard of him.
Ian MacKaye is one of Ian MacKaye's projects.
Oh, I didn't know that.
After Minor Threat.
But it's like kind of like
OG emo. It's original emo before anything was ever emo.
Well, I think Fugazi's one of the first emo bands. If you really want to.
Well, they're emotional, but before that, there was Embrace, dude. I'm gonna say this, you're gonna bug out. It's one of my top favorite.
It was
records.
before Fugazi or after Fugazi?
Yeah, before.
Okay.
Incredible. I saw him play once. It's like they throw flowers on the stage with this whole like Summer of Love thing in Washington D.C. Rites of Spring and these other bands.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, Embrace is amazing. But yeah, Coldplay, something about it, man. I mean, my son connected to it at a young age. Then you see him live, and it's this fucking. I'm not gonna say it's a religious experience because I'm not a religious person, but it's just this experience of this positive energy and fucking.
Okay.
And the crowd participation, the sing-alongs, and the fucking. They have a new record just came. A new song called "Orphans" is out right now. It's awesome. But yeah, they got me, man. I think they're like the next generation of U2, which I love U2 also. But
okay.
And you mentioned "Bullet the Blue Sky" back in this. You must have liked U2 a little bit back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think when I was in high school when Joshua Tree came out, and that was like everybody was listening to it.
Yeah.
It was like every first sort of like house party with girls and like that kind of like that was like the soundtrack kind of to like that kind of like coming of age kind of stuff.
What is an artist that makes you emo? What's like one artist that just gets in your feels and you fucking.
I mean, obviously Depeche Mode, The Smiths, I think too. Like I've loved Morrissey always, like a lot of his solo stuff. I like.
You love it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean his first few solo records I think I like better than The Smiths.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that kind of stuff. The Cure, obviously, like
Cure fucks me up.
It's weird though too. That's like, I have a hard time. I don't have a hard time saying it, but explaining to people sometimes about The Cure because like it's sad that like a lot of people's, their idea of The Cure is like Friday I'm in Love and like like those songs, yeah, whatever. And it's like, I like the stuff that the Cure songs that I don't like, I really don't like.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the happy Cure stuff, I like don't the kind of real poppy stuff I just don't like. But like the dark stuff, like the pornography stuff, the even 17 second stuff, the Faith record. Ooh, that's a sad record. The Faith record.
Yeah.
And it's cool too. It's like a lot more electronic. It's like like drum machine kind of vibe, like really slow and just dreary and dark and gray.
Yeah.
And so I've always been sort of like, into that sort of vibe when I was in high school and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the uplifting Cure shit you're not a fan of.
No.
I think it all makes me emotional in some way. I don't know why. Just seeing this dude and Jesus.
Yeah.
Just like he's not really human. It seems like he's just.
No, I mean when I first saw him in real life, we were I actually saw the Disintegration tour. Like when I saw him. But when I met him, we were playing. It was around the Fur. We were playing. It was when the record first came out, and we were at SAR Studios playing It was one of the first internet broadcast, like live broadcasting concerts.
Damn.
So like we played it. We set up an SAR. That we had like a few contest winners, but then we basically it was streaming, like a streaming show. It was like an experiment or something.
Old school shit.
And so we were doing that, and I didn't know this, but the Cure were rehearsing next door, and Robert Smith came in while we were playing. Dude. He came in and watched some of our show. So I got on stage and my tour manager goes, "Hey, that band The Cure?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like the singer was in here watching you, and he asked if when you're done, if you go over and talk to him. And I was like, "Huh?
No way, dude."
Swear to God. What? So I literally just like dropped all my shit and I walked over there, and they were rehearsing. Sure enough, next door. And he comes up and he's like, "Hey," and he starts asking me. We had this song on that record called Mascara, and it's probably the most emo song on Around the Fur, and I guess when he walked in, he heard that song and watched it. So he started asking me about it, and then he was like asking, like, I think he remembered like two of the words from the song. So he was like asked me about the words and stuff like that. And I was like, what? And then he started telling me a story about like him and like whatever. And it was like I'm sitting there talking to somebody whose records are cassettes that I used to have lined up in my top sock drawer in my house. I would just open my sock drawer, my dresser, and look at them every day. Just like I have all of them, you know what I mean? And a lot of them didn't have the lyrics written in them either because they were cassettes. So I'd listen to the cassette, I'd stop it, rewind it, and I'd write down. I'd figure out what the lyrics were and write them down. I mean, that's how I kind of figured out. I think that's kind of how I learned how to write lyrics is by doing that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So to sit there and talk with him about lyrics and this and that, whatever, and like want to
That's
tell him like
surreal,
I'm
dude.
like the reason why I'm probably have this job or singing and writing is because of you,
Yeah.
And that was pretty surreal. And then I got to meet him again when we did the Cure Icon thing. It was like they did it in London, and it was like it was the Cure. Other bands going up and playing their songs for them, and then they got up and did some songs, but it was like
in front of them.
Yeah, it was MTV Icon things in front of them.
Shit,
it was weird when we did. But we did If Only Tonight We Can Sleep, which is like a pretty much instrumental from those brothers. There's like one verse or one line in there,
and he's in the audience,
and he's just sitting there, just staring at it, just sitting there playing their song and looking at it, just seeing all their hair, just all like,
holy shit,
it was pretty rad. And then the other day, after the show, I was backstage with him hanging out, and
it was cool.
Man, he's so just sitting there having a beer with him, and he's just like, he's so mellow and like,
damn.
And like, but he's super like engaging, like, you know what I mean? If you want to talk to him about stuff, like he'll like engage in conversation. He's not just like, oh,
he'll listen
hey,
to you.
yeah, and then he'll have something to say back and like and listen to what you're saying. So it's not like, hey, I'm Robert Smith. I'm sure you want to meet me. What do you want to know? Like it's like a genuine sort of like conversation that you have with somebody who you wouldn't imagine having a conversation with. Pretty rad.
I was on stage watching you guys, and fucking, I looked to my left. All of a sudden, he's on stage watching you guys and clapping after each song. And I was like,
I'm glad I didn't look over because I would have gotten nervous.
Dude, he's like kind of like rocking out. And then as soon as you guys done, Sergio comes off. He sees me and he goes to give me a hug, and then when he hugs me, he turns around. And I don't tell him, but Robert Smith's coming from behind, and he taps Sergio on the shoulder. And Sergio turns around. He's like, good show, mate, whatever. And Sergio doesn't realize it's him at first. He gets a double take. It's like, holy shit. And once he realizes Robert Smith had like blinked his eye and walked away, and then it was just like a surreal moment. Sergio's like, oh my God. I was like, dude, he's watching your set, fucking rocking out. It was so cool, man.
Moon, she loves Robert Smith. She's got to meet him before, right?
Yeah, she did. She was like in shock. She got to meet him. She's like, hi, I don't speak English. She didn't know what to say. But I saw Moon at the recepting end of the stage with Robert. Go, here he comes. And he was just like, because sometimes you want to meet your heroes and shit. Like, but he seemed, obviously, you say he's super cool and easy to talk to and fucking.
He's awesome. Yeah, with Morrissey, like I that's kind of what I fear. Like of ever meeting him, whatever, that he'll probably and obviously I've heard that he's not the friendliest person, whatever. But then again, I don't want to listen to what other people say. So if I were to meet him, I'd be happy. But like at the same time, I would be nervous that he would be maybe some type of way. I don't know. Yeah.
So I got to meet him and get a photo with him. I met him at this punk show at the fucking Roxy. I don't know what the fuck it was. He was he goes to punk shows. And he came out and I saw him. I said, oh, nice to meet you. And I only know him because of his animal rights stuff. I was never a big Morrissey fan or Smith fan. I respect the Meet His Murder record that came out. Such a strong, powerful title for the for the 80s to come out. Yeah. And I know all the stuff he's done for the animals. That's where I know him from. So I said, oh, give me a photo. And I really did it because my friend wasn't there, and he has all these, he's like 15 Morrissey tattoos. He's obsessed with this guy. Okay. So I'm going to get a photo and show him. I took a real quick photo. He was super nice, and that was it. But I'm not a big fan, so I didn't freak out. I was like, oh, what's up? You know what I mean? Yeah. But Robert Smith's a different story, and fucking... Yeah. Madonna would be another fucking...
Yeah, but you did get to meet her, right?
I did, but there's no phones. I had the moment. So I had the one moment at CB's, and then after that, she was trying to sign Rancid, and we opened up for Rancid the Roseland, and I remember in the VIP section, I see my wife sitting down, and then later, a couple of seconds later, I realized that my wife is gone, and then my wife's pointing, and my wife had been sitting in Madonna's chair. So then Madonna's there when we play, and Moon's in the back, like, oh shit. Yeah. And then after the show, we came downstairs, and it was that time of the summer and that vibe when Madonna was wearing those see-through slips. Like women were just wearing slips at that time. Okay. So you could see straight through underwear bra. And I come down, and Lars like, oh, you meet somebody. I went downstairs, and she's there with Freddie DeMann and maybe Guy Osseri. Yeah. So I go meet my friend, and she goes, I remember. I swear to God, she grabbed my arm. She goes, I remember you. And she showed my tattoo to Freddie DeMann of her on my arm. And all my friends, like these New York hardcore dudes, like, were like bugging on that moment. Yeah. And she was super nice and fuck. And then ended up being the Madonna table book. It's like a half-page story. I get to tell my story about meeting Madonna at CB's, and I'm in a punk band, and I like Madonna, and we covered her song Like a Prayer. It was just crazy. I had posters all on my wall, and then I met my wife, and she's my real Madonna, so those posters were gone. Yeah. But I got to meet her, and it's cool. You get to fucking have those moments with her.
I still have she gave me a picture or a poster, the black and white poster of her naked, like in bed, and she signed it to Chino, all my love, blah, blah, and I have it framed, and it's in my bathroom. Actually, I have a Madonna bathroom at my house. I have that one of her, then I have her with the luchador mask on. Oh yeah. And then I have like 3 different Madonna pictures framed in my bathroom, so I call it the Madonna bathroom.
Fuck, she's playing there too, like 6 nights. at the Wiltern, so I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah.
I'm psyched to see that. I'm just coming through where you live in, but she's on this tour right now.
Oh, really?
Like small clubs.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to see her. I was in Denver. That was a few years back, whatever. And she was playing, and a guy came and met me at the hotel. We went and had some coffee, and then he was like, "Oh, you come to the show? You come to the show?" And then after the show, I don't know why I didn't go, but I did. I missed out on it. I should have went because I could definitely probably hung that night.
Are you guys, all records weren't on Maverick though, right?
Well, yeah. Basically, Maverick was.
It's gone.
Yeah, no. Warner Brothers basically took it over.
Okay.
And they kept. I think they only kept us and Alanis. I think was the only.
So
two.
that's another label. You've been on this label the whole fucking time. That's fucking crazy.
So
man.
yeah, it's a lot of the same people. Yeah, from day one. There's a few.
But not many bands even have a career as long as yours and stay on this, especially a major label.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking crazy, man.
It's pretty nice.
Well, fuck, man. I think we covered a lot. We talked over 2 hours. I think
We did 2 hours.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Had all my notes. Try to be prepared. One funny story I want to tell you is that, like, I don't know if it was, did Tinsley work for you guys?
He still works for us.
Yeah. So I got a message. I don't know how long ago it was through Tinsley that Chino loves Rapaport's podcast. I'm gonna get him on the podcast. So then, and this is no diss to you because I'm speaking for Mike, because Mike knows nothing about anything about hip hop.
Yeah,
I was like, yo, Mike, you got to get my man, this guy Chino from he's like, what the fuck is a Deftone? I'm like, dude, you have to get my man Chino. He sings this band Deftones are dope. They want to be on your podcast. He loves your podcast. He's like, all right. Just tell me more about it. I started telling about the band and shit. Yeah. And then it happened.
Yeah. No, that was rad.
And where did you do that? On the phone or go see him?
Well, I listen. I had gone through a lot of channels. I was like asking Dom,
Brooklyn
DeLuca,
Dom,
Brooklyn Dom. I was like, because I know he knows. I was just asking anybody. I was like, Mike. I was like, yo, his podcast is my favorite. It still is my favorite podcast. Yeah. No disrespect.
Yeah.
But my man talks so much shit, and I love the fact that like he he puts it out like to have a career. Like most people wouldn't like just be that wild on the mic.
No, man.
You know what I mean? That disruptive is what he calls it. But like he holds it down and he says what he feels and he's funny as shit. I just love him.
I know.
So I listen to that shit all the time. And then I always hear him talking about, me and Toby, we're going hiking. I was like, shit. He's homie Toby. And then Tinsley was like, oh, I know Toby. And then you came out when we were at Kimmel and you brought me that shirt.
Yep.
And then
yep.
And then shortly after that we were on tour.
Did you do that in person?
No, we did it on the phone.
Okay.
But just texting with them, I was like, this is rad. You know what I mean? Now every now and then I'll shoot him, text about something, whatever, some sports shit or whatever.
He knows nothing about.
I could tell. Even when I talked to him, he didn't know anything about. I even think with H2O, he's like, he's just a band H2O or something. Like he talks about Utopia, he's like, it's like punk rock or something,
I took him to see the Bad Range. He's like, what the fuck is this shit? Then he came to H2O show, did his first stage dive. He's been on some of our records, been on our videos. He just knows me through that. He knows nothing about hardcore. He's a hip hop dude. Yeah. And what I love about Mike is that he knows nothing about punk, but he's the most punkest person I know. He literally gives zero fucks what people think. Yeah. He'll put you on blast, who posts the most negative, threatening messages on his Instagram, and they have the shame game where they call you up, but he doesn't give a fuck. I go hiking with the people come with, yo, Mike, lay off on LeBron. They'll roll up to him and say some shit. He's like, yeah, whatever. He doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's what you gotta love. That's what you love about him.
He's what I want to be.
How did you meet him?
Great point. I'm about to have this motherfucker on my podcast too when he gets back. Maybe 17, 18 years ago, we both going to see. I don't want to say what the band. I got to think about the band. We're crossing to go to the Fonda. We're crossing Hollywood Boulevard to go to the Fonda. It was the Pussycat Dolls and some other shit, some random shit.
Okay.
We both cross. A cop pulls us to the side to get jaywalking tickets.
Both of you guys at the same time.
Both have New York ID. Mike's like, yo, fuck that. I'm fucking screaming at the cops. I'm like, and I know Mike from True Romance, my favorite movie of all time.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time as well.
Okay, so I have it in my wedding band. I have tattoos of it. To this day, Mike's like, yo, when you get the Dick Ritchie tattoo? I'm not getting a picture on my... Sorry, Mike, I'm not getting a picture on my body. I have no room for you, and I have to be down by my taint. Anyway, we both get jaywalking tickets together. Mike's like, fuck this. They recognize Mike. He still gets a ticket. And then I say a couple words to him. Then just right from there, I start seeing him at like these hip-hop clubs. And then randomly, Brooklyn Dom's original Brooklyn Projects on Melrose, there was a skate ramp in the back. One day I went there, and he was there with his kids. I'm there with my son. They're both the same age. Mm-hmm. Started talking then. And then became friends. Like, he knew nothing about straight edge or vegan or punk rock or anything. And like started going hiking. I see him at Runyon too. Then we started going hiking and became super tight. Yeah, man, it's just, and to this day, it's like, oh, fuck punk rock and all this shit. He breaks balls. And it's interesting because he's the biggest vegan ball breaker I know. 2 weeks ago, I brought him to a pig vigil. I could not believe he wanted to go. I'm gonna get into it.
I heard him talking about it. He on one of his podcasts he talked about going
because he breaks balls and like I had a meat-free shirt. And I said, "Yo, free meat," just talking shit. Yeah. And I brought him there, and that motherfucker just connected with the pig. I just never seen Mike, the most biggest ball breaker of me being vegan, to go and do this. I was so proud of him, dude. Wow. And he wants to go back when he gets back, and like that was a really powerful moment for me because I just never expected him to want to even do that. Yeah. And I never preached shit to him. And every time there's a vegan, if he's beefing with Morris, he was like, who tagged me in a fucking tweet. I'm like, dude, I don't know Morrissey. He's like, dude, all you vegans are friends. Like, don't put my name in a fucking beef when you go off for Morrissey. It's because I'm the only vegan friend. Like, I love it. He's the best, and he's a real cat, and he's a real ball breaker. But also a lot of that shit you see, because people are like, how you hang out with him? We both have matching PMA middle finger tats. He's like, how you hang out with Mike? So I said, dude, don't believe all the shit you see on the internet of Mike. Yeah. It's a persona too. You know what I'm saying? Like he's an awesome human being. I wouldn't hang out if he was your piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
So that's cool. You got to be on there and.
Yeah. Thanks for linking that up. That was cool.
Yeah, and
he called me and it was totally. I could tell like he didn't know. He didn't know whatever. But he did. It was a decent interview. I was just stoked to be on it. And I was like, Mike Rapaport. I was like, I just wanted to like hear him talk shit to me. Just talk shit with him on the phone. It was fun.
Some people hit me up like, yo, did you hear this? You hear that? You hear him on Stern. Like, he's nonstop. And sometimes I can't keep up with everything he's doing. My friends are like, yo, you seen that? Like, your Mike's fucking... One day he'll be loved. The next minute he'll be dissing Janet Jackson on Twitter, and he got called out by that.
Oh, he got big trouble for that, yeah.
But anyway, shout out to Mike Rapaport. And, dude, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you coming and being on the podcast. It means a lot to me. And fun. I appreciate everything you've done with music. I'm honored to call you a friend. I'm proud of everything you've been to sobriety, all the shit you've been through, and everything you contributed to society.
Cool. Thank you, man.
It was nice talking to you.
Right, it was fun.
And so, what can we look out for? Anything new coming? You working on a new record right now?
Yeah, working on it. It'll probably come out next year, sometime around springtime, I think. Yeah. So yeah, just doing that and chilling.
Yeah, and I hope to go to run you with you someday. That'd be cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Chino, for being. Yes. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we might be back with a part 2. You never know. Bye. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.